Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Buenos días.
Oh,
Good morning.
Good morning. It's very quiet.
yes.
Is everybody awake?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, there you are.
How did yesterday go for you guys after breaking out of here? Conversations, contacts, your 10-4. Let's hear some success stories.
Oh, they're quiet again.
Got my ear up to the microphone. I'm
They're
listening.
quiet again.
I got to
You
listen
broke
over the
them.
weekend. I had some guy tell me take no for an answer. And I mean, talking to people on the phone, that's kind of a success in the first place. So
Timothy Bassett, I love that you said that. Don't forget, it is 19 no's to a yes. We do need to celebrate the no's. And if based on national average conversion, it's 19 no's to a yes. So if you get to the 38th no, you've got a couple of yeses coming. And it's always the breakdown before the breakthrough. And again, we just discussed conversion rates here at our market center, talking about the economic model. If you are getting through to a lot of people and having a lot of conversations, ask yourself the question, am I asking the right questions? Am I making sure they understand that I am in real estate and I'm here to help? Because sometimes it's a matter of changing your batting stance. If we're not driving the ball out of the infield and hitting some home runs, it's a matter of maybe just changing the way we're having the conversation. And are we actually asking for help? Because if I only call, I never bring up real estate, and we talk about maybe golf in a few weekends, he or she are never going to know that they could have had that conversation with me. So, but yeah, celebrate the no, Timothy, for sure. We have to take pride in our little wins. And if picking up the phone and making one phone call this week, I'd argue maybe more than one this week. If making one call yesterday was your victory, congratulations. Now let's do two today, right? Double down.
Also, a really helpful tip for me with that is having Ariana Grande on immediate play. Thank you. Next. So if you find something that switches your headspace, okay, thank you. Next. Just be thankful for the no, because now I can move on to my next call. Right. So, just and learn from it and just go to the next one. Right. So don't let it bog you down for the rest of the day.
Also he was up in Van Buren. So, I mean,
yeah,
it was like 80 grand. It was pretty averagely priced. I mean, he was pretty on top of it in the first place. So
yeah. Well, I mean, if we're going to get no's, right? We're not right now, or I'm not ready yet, or right. And it's just when you're in sales and you're asking people questions, there's two possible answers, maybe three. I'm not ready. Yes and no, right? The I'm not ready is not really a no. It's a yes. It's just I need more information. And the no might be, I mean, even if they say no, it could be potentially anything can change. That's the one thing that I've learned too in this industry is that people's situations change all the time. So, being able to leave the conversation, would it be okay if I got in touch with you, next quarter or next month? Would you still think of me? If anything changes, I'm happy to provide information for you, resources, whatever, so that it's open, right? So the relationship doesn't just end with that sort of awkward take no, man, I don't want to sell my house right now, or whatever it is. Right. So that's cool. That's fine. Let's stay in touch and let me provide value for you. Right. That value proposition that you guys talked about yesterday. I'm not sure.
We've got the Portland. Well, so we had John Hatcher yesterday. We do have the Portland group is teaching today and tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just circling the wagons here with our contact there to make sure that everybody caught their bus.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I'm trying to see if they're logged in. All right. Have you guys been tracking your 10-4? We're going to riff a little while we're getting our instructor for the day. Have you been doing your 10-4? Any ahas while doing that?
I have been doing the calls. I just haven't been tracking them because I'm trying to create a routine for myself. So I haven't gotten to the point that I'm actually tracking the calls.
Okay. So the big benefit to tracking, what do you think that might be long term, a month from now, if you're tracking that information for yourself as a business owner? What's the benefit of that?
Finding the patterns.
Yeah. 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 So it's not like just an activity to report on, right? So think about that as a habit of a business owner, right? To know where your success is and places that you need to maybe improve or opportunities that you're missing. Like one of the common conversations as a coach that I have with people is like, oh, I've had a lot of, I made a lot of calls, but I'm not getting appointments. Okay. Well, what are you saying on the calls? Right. So we can reverse that and start to think about what's the content of the conversation for the calls. Or the next thing would be, wow, I made a lot of calls. I got a bunch of appointments. I didn't get the listing. Why didn't you get the listing? Right. So then we can think about like maybe you need to work on your listing presentation. So hopefully you're developing all these things at once, but if you're not tracking, you won't know, right? Where and then you can pinpoint that place that you can really focus on, or you can know what's working. Hey, if I notice that I call all my friends from my old work, 25% of my business that I have right now is coming from there. I need to continue to pay attention to that group of people, right? Because they're a great lead source for me. So, it's a habit of mind. Have you been previewing homes? How's that going? COVID is a tricky thing, but you can still look at them online. What are you noticing about the homes that you're looking at?
A lot of very messy. The
Messy.
photos, it was
Okay.
crazy. It was like, oh my goodness. The photos
Yeah.
that they put is like, oh, I wouldn't take that picture.
Okay.
Cynthia, we use the term lived in.
Yeah, right.
With spirit fingers.
Lived
in, well lived in, well loved.
Well lived in, yeah. So, but that's a really good point, Cynthia. So thinking about your value proposition, you're noticing that. What about that could you address as an agent that might become part of your value proposition?
What I will do,
how could that observation right? So how could that observation help you? Thinking about, to me, that tells me that agents are maybe struggling in the field and having the conversation of what getting your house ready for the market is. So could you really work on that conversation? How to have that conversation with care and with professionalism so that people are presenting their house in the best way possible when they go to market?
Yes.
So that's something that you could add to your value proposition. Everyone on this call could commit to working on that conversation, because when you don't have that conversation, how does the listing look?
I know, very bad.
Very bad, right? Right? Yeah. So that's a great observation.
Yes.
I always help them.
Yeah.
And then another thing, like yesterday, I called somebody like a $2 million house and they gave me a no. I was pretty sad, but because they say they were going to, like, it's a friend kind of, and then they say they're going to go to a very recognized realtor around the area. And I was like, okay, but what you can do. And then I went and checked the house before I called them. And then I saw that, in Zillow, they have all kinds of bad things. Like they have 4 bedrooms and they just have 2 bedrooms. Like, everything, it was very bad. Like the information, they didn't put the garage and they have 2 garage attached, like all kinds of stuff like that. But I didn't even have the time, she just cut me off that she was going with that realtor. So I couldn't even say nothing else, but
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So sorry we're late. Your trainer's having technical difficulties. Nick Danbury from Portland, Maine. He's getting over here in a minute. My name is Michael. I am going to be the chat monitor today. But if you just bear with us, just a little technical difficulties. We'll be with you in just a second. Thank you so much for being here, and apologies for being late.
Yeah, I just spoke with Tiffany and she said that you guys were sitting in a room by yourself. I said, no, you got an audience. There's a whole bunch of people waiting for you to take the stage.
We're coming. I'm trying to get Nick the link now.
That's okay. Yeah, I just sent it off to Tiffany and we can make sure everybody has host access and stuff like that. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I think you came in as the host.
Yeah, you've got
So-
host access. Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Yep.
I think you're in as the host.
I am. I see that. Thank you.
Yeah. So while you're figuring that out, I just want to follow up with this one thing with Cynthia. So Cynthia, I'm not sure if there's an opportunity for you to revisit that conversation with your friend. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is, it's a really basic script. Like, what is it about working with that particular realtor that's important to you? And, and gleaning sort of that motivation, because just having them well known, if you have your stats and your information for your office and Keller Williams behind you and you have that information, you could potentially say, listen, we have a lot of opportunity. And while I may be new to the business, I have a lot of support behind me. And, this is what we've done and I don't know what market you're in, but like know that information going in. I know for us here in New Hampshire, in our area, like most of the agents are Keller Williams agents. So I'm going to be, representing you. We do this many transactions. Like, I have coaches, I have mentors, I have, you know what I mean? So if it's a matter of the fact that you're new, is that a fear that you could alleviate with more information? If she's a friend, you could ask those questions. Like, what is it
Yes, and
about that?
she told me like, oh, I already gonna sign out like tomorrow.
Oh,
And
all
I'm
right.
like,
Well, if she's already
okay.
signed,
I'm like,
then it's
okay.
no dice. It's no dice. But yeah, then you wish her luck. And yeah. So
Wait, you said she hasn't signed with you yet, though?
Yeah, she has the appointment for tomorrow. She already sell the house before, the one that is selling. So she say, I gonna just go with her because,
So call her up and ask to do an interview today. Try to be like, it's always good to explore your options. I am a new realtor, but that also means that I have a lot more time on my hands to, work with you and use that as your advantage. I mean, there's a lot of ways.
that's a great point,
Hey all.
Nicholas. Oh, good morning. Hey.
I made it.
Thank you.
Yay.
I'm sorry. The link that they was sent to me was sending me somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be. So I was sitting here going, this can't be right. Where is everybody? So we're on. Does everybody have their material, their guide, or you want me to email it? You want me to text it to you or share it with you?
We just put it in the chat box. The participant guide is in the chat box. If you don't have it, go there and click on it.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks, Michael. So, hey guys, let's dive right in. My name is Nick Dambry. I am a broker at KW Maine. I've been in the business 20 years. I've been with KW for now 5. I have a small team and I'm on the ALC at our office, and I like chocolate ice cream for dessert. So that's about it.
I'll introduce myself as well. I'm the co-presenter, but I don't know if I'm considered made a host on this, so that we might have some tech difficulties. But I'm also at Keller Williams Greater Portland Market Center. I've been in the business for 10 years. I'm an individual agent. I like vanilla ice cream. And I am also on the ALC.
And Michael?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Michael Navarro. I've been at KW Maine for 2 years now. Came over here from another company. And this is my first Ignite class. I can't believe it, actually. So I am the chat monitor today and looking forward to learn right along with you all. And I'm also on the ALC, my first year serving on the ALC this year. So looking forward to joining you all and learning from each other.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Heidi. So I'm going to share my screen with you all, and we'll start the slides and we'll dive right in. So we make this enjoyable. Please raise your hand, chat, send a chat message, something along those lines. Let's definitely make this interactive. So the 3 hours don't go super slow for all of us. Does that sound like a fair deal?
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Let me find this and I'll share the.
Hi, I'm wondering if you three wouldn't mind putting your names up. Right now you all
Oh, right.
KW New England, and it might be easier for us to address you.
See if I can do that. Rename. Oh, yeah, there we go. Look at this. Zoom is not my 100% forte, but so I'll muscle through it. And are you all seeing the slides now?
Yes.
Great. I think you're probably I'm probably sharing my screen. So let me get. Hey, Michael, can you get the PowerPoint up? Sorry, guys, we were all set on the other side and now I'm feeling behind the curve.
It's okay. We talked about wins and we did some recaps while you guys were coming in. So we're all good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just a human doing human things. You're all
Yeah.
right.
In a technology world, it's okay.
All right. So let's start. We'll talk about lead generation for buyers. That is probably your number one most important thing to do, and it's also the thing that you're gonna get the business the quickest. When I talk about lead generation for buyers, it's the best way, and I'm assuming I'm talking to people that have done little transactions or a few transactions that are in their first year, or somebody's just trying to recap. So a way to get money the fastest is by working with buyers. I know that our market, at least in Maine, is very tight, and I'm assuming that in the greater New England area, it's probably very similar. So I understand that it's a challenging market, but the way to get money coming in the fastest is to work with buyers. So how do we get buyers? We lead generate for buyers. This is a really great slide. It's something that I look at every year. I'm constantly looking at the stats from NAR because it really helps you put into perspective where you should be looking for buyers, how you should be looking for buyers, and give you some confidence, right? So sometimes you always feel that, oh, geez, nobody uses a realtor, or why would you use a realtor? But in the grand scheme of things, 89% of the buyers purchase their homes through real estate agents. So almost everybody that you bump into is a potential client, whether that be a lister or a buyer, but everybody that you bump into on the street or over a Zoom or anything like that is somebody that you could potentially sell a house to. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And 41% of the buyers are found their agents through referrals, and referrals from friends and or family. I'm at the point in my career where pretty much 95 to 96% of my businesses comes from repeat or referral clients. And the way that I do that is I stay in touch with my database. And I'm sure you all have heard Gary say that 1,000 times, insulate your database, insulate your database. So I'm constantly on the phone with people that I've sold real estate to, or friends, or I'm going to coffee with people, or I'm doing lunch with people. I understand we're in COVID, so that's hard. And it all depends on what market you're in, or where people feel comfortable about doing stuff like that. So pick up the phone and call people that you know. It's the easiest way to start. Cold calling is not something that I very much loved in my career at all. I did it for about 3 years and I got it out of my system. Many people in my office are very, very successful at it, and they do it all the time. So I'm not saying that it's the wrong way. It's just not something that I do very often. Heidi, how about you?
My goal is to have a mix of people. So I do about 80% repeat and referral. Yet I always strive for the 20% to be not from my sphere. Mm-hmm. So it keeps me potentially out of my comfort zone, and mm-hmm. also gets me better at just meeting people. But right. I think when I just stay genuinely interested in people, it makes me want to talk to people and see who I can help. So I don't want to lose that 20% to grow my database.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're constantly trying to add people to your database.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that? How do you do that on a daily basis?
Great question, Nick, because that addresses something that came up in the chat. Someone said that Joyce says they have 100 people in their database, and I'm encouraging you to continue on and build that database. So how do we build that database?
So one way is to focus on expireds. They're people you don't know. If you do get a listing, it's going to bring buyers. You can also just focus on everywhere that you go, talk to people, and go around and talk to your neighbors and just to say hi, like, I'm in your neighborhood, I haven't met you. And that doesn't mean that they're going to be a seller or a buyer, but you're just meeting new people. So, and then just maybe take some kind of a workshop online that you haven't done before, because you're going to meet new people there. So just stay like, in curiosity to meet people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many people here are currently doing open houses?
Anybody?
Anybody?
I have an open house with my buyers today.
You have an open house for your buyers today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not an open house. I have a showing. I'm sorry.
A showing. Okay. So, I'm going to speak to our market. Open houses in our market they're going on. Even in COVID, we're doing them with safe distancing and all of that. And the buyers are showing up in droves, lines down the street. So one way to find new buyers would be to hold an open house, because as you can see, 51% of the buyers visit an open house. So that's another way to gain more names and phone numbers of people that are actively out in the market and looking. Is that right? And so if you're newer and you don't have a listing, then there are people in your market center that have listings or don't want to hold open houses, or they have multiple listings and they can't cover them all. So if you approach somebody that's that's a top producer in your market center, approach somebody on your ALC that may have listings that you can sit and hold open houses. That is one great way of filling your pipeline and filling your database. And especially in the COVID times, it's contract tracing, right? You come into the house, I need your name, your phone number, your email address, all of your contact information the minute they walk in the door. And that's a great way to find people that need your help. Another great stat that I really like to dive into on the NAR stats is that 75% of the buyers only interview one person, one agent. So the most likelihood is if you get in front of somebody, they're going to use you as their agent. So you just need that. You need the ability to set that appointment. So you need to find ready, willing, and able buyers. Does anybody have any questions on that? Other ways? Michael, how about you? Other ways that you find buyers?
Yeah, I just want to touch on two more questions. Someone asking about the open house and how to do that. How do you, Justin, I'm going to answer your question. He says, is it okay to go to open house that isn't yours? Yes, of course, you can host the open house, but I wouldn't go there trying to market yourself while the listing agent is in the dining room and you're in the kitchen. But if you were to host it open house, yeah, that's a way to grow your database, because you're going to grab every buyer that's not represented, all of their information and contact information, and you can market yourself to them directly while you are the host of that open house, for sure.
That's a great clarifying question or answer there, Michael. Thank you.
And I think back to the geo farming, hitting your own neighborhood. If you have 100 people in your database like Joyce does, I wonder how many people are her neighbors. It's a great way to get out and meet your neighbors. And even if you don't meet them face to face, organically walking the dog or playing out in the yard, you could send a mailer out and say, I live on your street. How can I help you? How can I provide real estate services? Do you need a contractor? Come from contribution always, and make that connection with your neighbors so that you can be top of mind when they start thinking, oh man, maybe I should start selling. I see that my neighbor's house sold quickly and for X number of dollars. So the neighborhood is such a great way to say, I am a local expert on a micro level, this subdivision, this street, this neighborhood, and get your name out there, because your neighbor, they might walk past you every day, but they don't know you're a realtor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I met 3 neighbors in the last 2 weeks. 2 had moved into the neighborhood and 1 had moved in November, but I finally got the courage to go over and say hello. And all I did is I rang their doorbell and I stood like 6-8 feet back and I just said, "Hi, welcome to the neighborhood. I see that your house just closed and I live over there in that house and my name is Heidi Nottinson." And I didn't say anything about real estate yet because I want the first meeting to be the connection. And then when I gave them my card, I was just like, I didn't say anything about real estate when I gave the card. I just said, here's my card, just so you have my number and my email if you need anything. So the person I met yesterday for the first time, she took my card and like within a half an hour, she emailed me back and she said, "Thank you so much for welcoming me. If you need anything, here's my number." And then I told her about some walking trails, and then we've already emailed back and forth, and we're going to go for a walk. Now, when I go for a walk with her, then I'll end up saying something about real estate.
That's awesome. I love that.
And when I went to one of the doors too, I brought a roll of toilet paper and I brought some cut up fruit with toothpicks because she literally had just like shown up at the house, but the moving truck wasn't there. And so I said, "I'm not sure if you're hungry yet, or if you even have toilet paper in the bathroom yet. So here's just something to get you started."
That's great. That's great, Heidi. That's wonderful. Yeah. What I very similar to that, what I like to try to do for our communities or people around is just be the hub, be the hub, be the reason, we advocate that people reach out to us for anything. Where do I get my haircut? Where do I get my, where do I buy a couch? Who mows my lawn? A plumber, an electrician, anything to do with the community. It's really, as I think it was Brian Buffini, give it out in slices and it comes back in loaves. So, just really, really come from contribution, come from caring and wanting people to be comfortable, and it will come back to you. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Michael, can I put something on the screen right now that's a who do I know that isn't in my database? And it's a big list of 100 and some odd categories, like 180 categories, and it will jog your memory. And if you start filling out that list, it would be like, who's your doctor? Who's your dentist? Who cuts your grass? Who does your window coverings? Who cleans your carpet? And if you start trying to fill out that list by meeting people, looking through the yellow pages, people that then when Nick said, like, be the hub for information, you can start building your list so that you always, you're looking for the holes of where you can add more people.
I just put that in the chat. It's
in the chat?
documents up there. Who do I know?
Okay, so guys, grab that and save it, and then you'll be able to print it out, and it'll be a good nugget for you.
Yeah, there are you know a lot more people than you actually think you do. And if you sit down and start writing names down, and then for the person that has 100 people in their database, if you start calling those people and you say, who else do you know? That it grows exponentially very quickly. And if you're staying in touch with those people, then it will grow even more and more and more because you'll stay top of mind.
Right. And then as you know these people too, like you want to know them more than just as a name. We'll get into this a little bit later, but you want to, if you don't know what they do for work or if they're retired, then you want to be able to ask more so that next to their name, you actually, if you know of what they do for work, then you know of how they can help somebody else or where they might need help.
Right. Right. Anybody have any questions on all of this? No? None taken. We'll move on.
There is a question that someone put in the chat box wondering how we realtors find people's phone numbers or emails that are not in the professional field. That could end up, that's a great question. I think that some of it is organic. Like if you look on their Facebook page, and I do this all the time, I look in LinkedIn or I looked on Facebook, and when it says about, you have the tab about somebody, sometimes they just say what they do, and it might not be a professional field, but it could be a hobby thing that they're selling stuff or whatever. So you can sometimes learn more about people in that section.
And don't be shy to ask, hey, I'd love to stay in touch with you. And that's where it comes from, little nuggets, hey, I have as Michael said, if you're if you want to be a master of that neighborhood, I do monthly reports on what's happening in our neighborhood, or I do monthly reports what's happening in our community. Or, if you have a newsletter, that's another great way to grow your database. If you're sending out a monthly newsletter or a weekly newsletter, it's an item of value, so something that somebody would actually want to sit down and read, that you're giving them some sort of information based on what's happening in their community. Anything else?
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
My daughter just started school, and I wanted to reach to the parents of the kids that are with her. How is like a easy way to get it? That you can recommend?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a PTA, a parent teacher association of some sort. You can probably join that and get active in that. If your kids are in sports teams, that's another, sports or athletics or music or anything like that. And right now it's hard because nobody's getting together because of COVID.
I know.
But I know that in my community, we have a Facebook group, and everybody in that Facebook group, it's all about kids. Obviously you add value to that group. You're not there marketing yourself, but you're adding value. You're contributing to about things about the community and what to do, answering questions on there. There was a trainer that I listened to, what should you call it? I think it was a 555. So I do that in that Facebook group, so I'll instant message 5 people, I'll comment on 5 people, and I'll like 5 things that people have said. It's just a way of getting in front of them. Does that help?
Yes, because I don't know, they don't have like a Facebook or nothing, but I was thinking like maybe we do to try to do like a WhatsApp, group or something with the parents and try to get it like that. But
that's wonderful. But what I would say is, if they do not have a Facebook group, start it.
No. Okay.
Start the Facebook group.
Okay. And then I just go and ask them do you want to join the Facebook that we're going to do for the class and stuff, something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. We're going to have a Facebook group for the class. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I'm the only one that talks with everybody,
Yeah. So start a Facebook group with the class, and then that would be easy. There's a broker in our market that started, I think it's called Portland Yard Sale. And it's a Facebook group for selling things. And it now has like 40,000 members. So every one of those people is in this gentleman's network now. And he nonchalantly is like, I'm selling real estate, but he's created this community. I mean, I'm a member of it. I post things on there for sale all the time. So if you can be that person that starts that Facebook group, it'd be huge. Especially if you said, hey, here's a Facebook group for all of grade, I don't know what grade your kids are in, but all of grade 5, or all of grade 6, or the whole middle school. That's the group that I'm in. It's everybody in the grade school, so it's a much broader audience.
Oh, okay.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Cynthia.
Think big, don't think small, think bigger. How can you scale it?
Yes.
I have a little, I'm actually doing part of like the PTA with my kids' school, and I volunteered to do this raffle calendar. So a thing that I was going to contribute was maybe like a cash prize of like $10 or $15, like a couple times in the month, and put like my business card with it. So that way, like whoever gets the cash prize gets my business card too. So that might be another like thing that you could like present to maybe your PTA as like a raffle, but like we got other local businesses involved in it. So it's obviously not just like my business card going out there, but it may be like something that will be on the calendar a couple times, and people will then have my card and know my name that way too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. A raffle. What's big in our community right now with the whole school thing is what can we do with our kids? You know, going hiking and sledding and biking and all that stuff, you know, kind of helping people with that. But I love the raffle idea. That's awesome.
Hey guys, I have a quick question. I'm a new licensee, extremely new. I actually should be getting my license hopefully within the mail in a few days now. But in the process of, thank you, in the process of waiting for that to come in, I've actually started some promotional steps. Like I'm introducing myself to people in my neighborhood. You know, I speak to salon people. I'm in the grocery store. I'm speaking to people there when I'm going shopping. You know, I'm starting to build platforms using social media, you know, mailers and things like that. But is there a way that I can actually obtain email addresses from the people in my neighborhood? Is there a way that I can do that? Or is there any technology that I can use so I can send something out on a mass basis?
I have started using Forewarn. Oh no, that is phone numbers, not emails. Sometimes Mojo Dialer will populate with email addresses, but not frequently.
Okay.
I'm not sure of any other.
Cole List as well.
So
COLE.
Cole List. Okay.
Yeah, Matt. The other solutions, you can definitely get phone numbers and then you call them.
Yeah.
And then when you know, when you call them, you know, it's not a sales call. It's just, hey, I'm here in the community. I'm here to help. Is there anything I can help you with? I offer, you know, once again, a newsletter or something along those lines. That you know, that's the way I would recommend it. So.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
So Forewarn has phone numbers?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, you've got to type in their name. I think you have to have a couple pieces of information. I use it more for if I have, because you know, it's to keep my database up to date. So I'll most likely have people's phone numbers because, and then say they've moved or you know, because I do mailers and I get stuff back all the time. And it's the way that I keep the database up to date is I'll type, when I get the mailer back, I type in their phone number and I usually get their correct address. So.
Okay, thank you.
Nick, hi. Did you say, I know you just said it, but is it the number 4 and the number 1 you said, 41?
No, it's Forewarned. It's how is it spelled? FOREWARD.
Yeah, look in the chat box right now. For, like before.
Okay.
Warn, like I'm warning you.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And if you guys aren't using that software, it's given to us for free in Maine, because we're part of the MLS. But it is so. Before I meet anybody, especially if I'm like going to some obscure place, and I've never met these people before, I'm typing their phone number in there, and it's telling me, you know, I mean, it's really neat. Like it will tell you. So I don't know. You're going to meet somebody at, let's just say. You've never met them before. It's going to tell you if they've got any criminal records, if they've got any, you know, anything along those lines. What's also neat is if you're showing a higher end listing, you know, you can see, oh, geez, they've got a Range Rover and they've got this and that. You know, they got 5 cars registered. You know, it's kind of just, it gives a little bit of context behind who you're meeting, which is nice. You know, and I think, you know, with safety today, I think it's a really cool tool.
This can
And
be
yes,
used
in Massachusetts. That's a great question. I know here in Maine, our MLS offers it. Does anyone here from Massachusetts use it or know that it's free to them?
I'm sure you can buy a service.
Yeah, it's partnered with our MLS, so it's been offered to us for free.
Yeah.
I'm in Massachusetts. I've never heard of it.
Okay.
What was that service called?
Yep.
Look in the chat box. It's written in the chat box. Michael put the whole link for it.
But it not only pulls up car registrations, past addresses, past phone numbers. I've Forewarn searched myself, and it actually has the phone number from my childhood home. I'm shocked that it's still recorded there. But it also has court reports. If they have a felony, it will show up. So to Nick's point, for safety, and that's the first purpose of Forewarn, is for safety, because, you know, we're cold calling, we meet this buyer and we're going to go meet them somewhere. We have no idea who these people are, or we get a call And they're like, yeah, we want to be safe as realtors. Never let your guard down.
How come our MLS is not offering that service?
Bummer.
You have to call your MLS and find out.
Yeah, tell them Maine is offering it, and they should offer it too. Keep realtors safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. That's exactly what I would call your MLS, president of your MLS board, or more your realtor board. Because your MLS is run by the board of realtors.
Okay.
So, but that's where I would definitely start there. All right. Let me get back to the slides. And play. Can you guys see this now?
Yes.
Great. So this is a little bit better. So we talked about finding the buyer, right? Now we're going to talk about cultivating the buyer. And this cultivating the buyer and I'll let kind of Michael and Heidi talk as well. This is where you start to mold your experience, right? I mean, we all need to differentiate ourselves to, if we're all the same, then we would be a commodity. So you've got to differentiate yourself, so you'll end up having more and more people that want to work with you. And you start that by cultivating the buyer and how you do things differently than everybody else. So I'm sure you guys have all seen this funnel before. This is going to come out in I think the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book #2 that they've been saying it's going to come out for ever since I joined KW. But I think there's a lot more on the frying pan right now to worry about. So, but they have released this, and it's prospecting and marketing. We just kind of talked about that, and then it's captured. The lead is captured. So, you're starting this funnel, and what you want to do is you want to get them down the funnel. So, you get your leads in. How many people? I know it's hard to do this, but if you're not using Command, get in there and use it. If you're using some sort of other database, if you're using a top producer or something like that, I would start switching over to Command. I made the switch a year ago, and it was a rough go because I've just been so involved in top producer my whole career that it was a little bit hard. But the technology is there, and we are the only company that has our own technology, and it is powerful, but you just got to spend the time to learn it. If you don't have a database, get a database. Put something somewhere. Everybody asks me a lot, not everybody, but a lot of people ask me, what database you're using, and the short answer is the best database is the database that you use. So if you're not going to use Command, but you'll use top producer, then do that. If you're not going to use top producer, but you'll use an Excel spreadsheet, then do that. So really use the database that you have and set up a system to massage the leads and your contacts through your whole funnel. Does that make sense for everybody?
Nick, can you explain, please, what is the difference between a lead and a contact?
Sure. Yeah. So what I would say is a lead is really, somebody who gives you a name and a phone number and says, hey, let me qualify this. I think my classification, and then there's, Heidi's classification and Michael's and probably Keller Williams' classification. But for me, a lead is somebody that's just a name and a phone number and an address. Maybe I've had one conversation with them. And I've put them in my database, and I'm starting to work them, starting to massage, them as a potential client. Does that make sense?
Or it could be a marketing piece that you put out, and now you get leads from the marketing piece. So you haven't connected with them at all. Connecting, like, meaning human.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I haven't exactly. Thank you. I have not spoken. A lead is somebody I've not spoken with. It's somebody who's basically raised their hand and said, I'm interested in your information. I'm interested in, this is another thing. Every piece of marketing you put out there should have a call to action. So if you're just putting a flyer out there that says, hi, my name is Nick Dambry and I sell real estate. Here's my phone number. That's not a call to action. Like, that's not, you're trying, it's a waste, in my mind, it's a waste of money, right? You're trying to get people to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to buy a house. Okay. So, right now the market's tight, right? So what I would say is a call to action would be, hey, would you like a list of homes that are not currently in the MLS? Would you like to know, we have a group database, we have a group chat or a Facebook group in our office. So like, I know out of 500 brokers, people are going to start putting property up there before it goes into the MLS. Now we can do that. Now, NAR came up with a new rule. You can't, but as long as you're inter-office, you can do that. So if you have a chat group amongst your office and properties that are coming on before, you can say, hey, would you like a list of homes before they come on the market? Give me a call at, give me a call at 1-2-3-4-5-6-7-8-9. And then that would allow those people, of course I want a list of homes that are not on the market, because there are no homes on the market. So that person would actually end up calling you. That's a lead. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then the contact, you've now made contact with that person. You've had an interaction with them. You've added value. You've touched them. They're now in your system.
And if you're talking about your neighborhood, you might happen to know, like, the person down the street's name is Susan and the other person's name is John, and maybe you wave to them once in the neighborhood. They are a lead until you actually have a conversation with them, or potentially them even knowing that you're in real estate. But so there's that difference there.
Yeah. When it comes to marketing, one of the examples I like to use is how many people get the JetBlue emails and they're like, fly anywhere for $49. And it's like the Boston flight that goes to wherever. You're like, Baltimore, but it got you there. And then you're like, well, I don't want to go to Baltimore. I want to go to Florida. And the ticket's now $150. Well, I'm here, so let's go to Florida. It's that hook. It's that hook. So yeah, it's great clarifying. Does anybody have questions on that?
So I do have a question. So once you have the conversation with someone and they become your contact, does that mean you just had a random conversation about real estate and now they know that you're a realtor, or that they asked you for help and you guys connected in that way?
Yeah, great question, Michelle, and not necessarily. For me, I will get somebody's name and phone number and they automatically go into my database. And then I have smart plan, what they're called smart plans at command, and I set them up on a smart plan. And however I interact with them, eventually they will all get into the same funnel. But if I was talking to somebody on the street and they were like, oh, geez, hey, Nick, do you know a good mower? Yeah, I do. What's your name? What's your phone number and your email address? And I'll send it over to you. Now I've got their contact information. They're in my database. And now now they're going down. Now they're going down my funnel. They're in my 36 touch. It's another way, another way to stay in touch with them. Does that answer your question, Michelle?
Nick, can you, but even if they didn't ask you for any kind of, because they asked you for any kind of help at all, whether it's real estate or anything, I'm kind of just confused on I don't want to put them in a funnel and then they're like, how the hell did I end up getting marketed to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So let me go back to you. How would you get their information in the beginning? So I'm just set the stage for
okay, I met someone the other day and
mm-hmm.
we were just chatting and she asked what I do and stuff like that. So we were chatting about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, you're chatting. Did you get her email address or her phone number?
No. But I didn't want to push too much,
Well, I approach this as for me, it's more about making the connection. It's about relationships. Okay. It's not about the sale. It's about the relationship. And if you liked that person and you wanted to stay in touch with that person, then I would say, hey, geez, it was really getting nice to know. It's a conversation, right? It was really nice to get to know you. Hey, do you want to get a cup of coffee sometime? Oh, that'd be great. Well, what's your phone number? You know, so does that make sense? I mean, so it's super simple. You know, it's not.
I didn't take it to that next step. I see what you're saying though. Okay.
Yeah. So what every day Michelle, I would set a goal, and I don't know what your database is like, but every day I would set a goal. I want to add, you know, or weekly, I want to add 10 people to my database this week. And how are you going to do that? I'm going to walk down the street. I'm going to take my dog. I'm going to go to the dog. So for me, when I was starting business, I went to the coffee shop. I went to the coffee shop every day. Every day I went to the coffee shop. I worked from the coffee shop for an hour. I knew all the baristas. I can't tell you how many baristas I've sold houses to. You know, that was my place. And those people still know me and they still refer me. So every day I was doing the same thing. And that's the way I filled my database is I got to know the baristas, and then everybody who went to that coffee shop every day, they're still my friends, and I still see them and they still send me business. So, you know, what do you enjoy? You know, I have a colleague who likes the spin classes. So they go to these spin classes every week, you know, and they're there, you know, that's another place. I went to CrossFit all the time. And, you know, it was, you know, those little communities that you build relationships. So I wouldn't look at it as transactions. I would look at it as how many relationships can I have? Does that make sense? And it's a lot easier to have that. You know, you're not a salesman. You're or a salesperson. You're just somebody who's genuinely interested in their lives.
So, and Michelle, the person who you did meet, she is a contact. She's just a contact with a lot of missing information.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this funnel, can you take off the screen share for a second, just so. Okay. So see this funnel that I'm holding right here? Mm-hmm. I'm holding a funnel. And I'm holding a marble. Okay. Now, things go into the funnel and the leads just kind of swirl around the top of the funnel, okay? And they're just swirling there because you haven't connected. Once you've connected them, think of this like a roulette wheel, and it gets stuck in the little number, right? And then it might still go around a bit, but it's stuck in the number. Once you've connected with them, now you have to do stuff like by finding things to talk to them about until ultimately when they buy something, now it's money that's coming through the other end.
Nice.
Okay? Now, once they've bought something, you're going to put them back in the funnel, but they're no longer swirling near the top because now you already have their contact information. So you have to do stuff further in the funnel to stay connected so that they can either give you a referral or buy again, and then there's more money. So you're staying connected with the funnel, but the person who you have no contact information, you haven't even reached out to, they're swirling near the top and they've never gotten stuck in a number.
Right.
On the roulette wheel. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
I have a question just to comment on Nick's point when he was going into the coffee shop, because I tried that one time and I couldn't get any conversations with anybody. So how did you attract conversations?
Don't worry about it. Excuse me.
Emma, so how long you've been doing it?
I did it a couple of times, not so much.
It's all about consistency. It's all about consistency. You know, and you know, we look for this magic pill, and I'm guilty of it. I can't tell you how many shiny objects I've purchased that's going to make me lots of money in real estate, and it all comes down to the relationship. So I was doing this for years. Okay. And it was just what I did in the morning. You know, I mean, I got there at 7, and I was pre-kids. So I got there at 7 or 7:30, and I sat there until about 9. I had a couple cups of coffee. This place had great toast. I ate a piece of toast, set up my computer, and I did all my emails, and I stayed in touch with people. I made some phone calls, you know, and people are overhearing your conversations. Obviously I'm not speaking about things confidential. You know, and then just somebody sits next to you, right? And you're just, hey, how are you today? I'm great.
Hey, Nick,
you know?
Did you wear your name tag?
I'm one of those secret agents that Tom Ferry talks about all the time.
Yeah, you're right. Listen,
I never have.
Right. And I've never worn a name tag either. But if you're sitting there in the coffee shop with consistency, you don't have to attack people in a conversation. Find a way that is just putting yourself out there. I knew an agent who sat in the same Starbucks every single day, and he had a little thing, like it was his desk. It had a little name tag on there. I'm a realtor. Do you have a question? And he just worked. And people would see it and were like, actually, I do have a question. It's amazing what you just put it out to the universe, what will come back. So whether that's a name tag or, oh, wrong way, or my jacket logo that has this on it. Keller Williams is widely recognizable. My team jacket has that. You know, just anything to say, I'm a realtor, right? And
I've seen skins on the top. I've seen skins on the back of people's computers.
Yeah.
You know, so you get your laptop up and it says, you know, it's just your name. And I mean, it's very nonchalant in your face. But for me, I have a group of friends that are introverts, and they say to me, geez, Nick, you got to stop making eye contact. Because I just talk to random people. They're like, just stop making eye contact, you know? So, you know, for me, they sit next to me and it's a simple question. Hey, how are you today? Oh, I'm good. Oh, great. What are you doing? You know, what are you doing today? You know, I mean, just, it really comes down to a conversation. Does that make sense, Emma?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
But be consistent. Go there. Just try it for 6 months. You know, so, you know, obviously you're going to have to increase your coffee budget. But you know, it's been a great thing for me. So
yeah, I'll try it, definitely.
We'll get into some scripts and role play further into this. So we'll have opportunity to practice talking with each other.
Yeah. Great. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. I believe I can do that here. Yeah, there we go. Share. So we talked about cultivating the leads and nurturing and working through that. Command. Command will be your best friend at this, or top producer, or some sort of database that will help you transition through here. It's 10 o'clock. Let's go another 5 minutes and take a break. Is that fair to everybody? So so you're not sitting here all the time? Is that okay? Or just want to keep marching through? A couple comments in the chat bar would
Keep
be
marching.
Break is good.
Okay. So, you know, get them into the database, set up a smart plan so you know what to do. The other beautiful thing about smart plans, it's going to tell you what to do for your day. You know, at this point, I just open up my computer and it says, hey, Nick, you got to call these people. You got to write these notes. You got to do this. You got to do this, this, and this.
Hey, Nick,
Yes.
quick. Sorry to interrupt. If everyone here present could type into the chat, yes or no, who is using command, yes or no? And right after that, right, who's using smart plans, yes or no, please? So 2 yeses, same answer, right? Yes, no, yes, no. So we got a lot of command users, but not a lot of smart plans, not yet. We have yes, couple of yeses, couple of not yets. So to Nick's point about that database, right? Use any database. The database you use is the best database. True. And Command is a really great resource. For my business and my team, we're all in on Command. And we're using every single one of our team members has their complete database in there. And we're running smart plans. So Nick, can you explain, because we do have a lot of new agents and a lot of agents saying not using smart plans yet. What is a smart plan? And why is that important? Why is that valuable?
Oh yeah. Okay. So a smart plan is the funnel that you want your client or customer to go through. Okay. The transaction. Okay. So if you look at it as what are the steps? I was not in the military, but I come from a military family. So there are checklists for everything. You know, my dad was a pilot. You don't go out the door without a checklist, right? So what happens? I get a lead. What happens next? I do what happens next, and then what happens after that? I do what happens after that, and then I do what, you know. So it's a constant line, right? So now they're in my database. They've said I want to buy a house. Okay, so you just work them through the plan. Okay, so that once again, That's the way you differentiate yourself from everybody else, because your plan is going to be different. Or I like this or I don't like this. So you work yourself through that plan. Michael, do you want to share your screen and show them your smart plan, or you want me to do it mine, or what's a?
No, we better go to yours.
Okay. All right. So let me,
while Nick does that, let me talk a little bit more about smart plans.
Yeah,
So
go
the
ahead.
checklist is important, but you can also set up auto messaging. So a lot of people are using Command to get Facebook leads. You could set it up so that if you get a Facebook lead, which captures phone number and email and name, you can automatically send that person an email. Hey, so thanks so much for clicking on that that ad for Facebook for property, and then it has a blank, a setting where it will pre-fill the property, pre-fill the person's name, and say, thanks for reaching out. I'm gonna give you a call in, I'm gonna give you a call back. Right? It could be an automatic email. So they click on that Facebook lead, it generates into Command, and boom, they get an immediate email. You can set that up for texting or emailing. Command uses Twilio to do automatic texting now. So whatever it is, if it's a lead, a contact that, or a lead or a contact that you have in your database that you want to remember to touch, it can be automatically set up. And you just assign this smart plan. A perfect one is a closed buyer. It's my favorite one, right? Closed buyer. Wonderful transaction. I have a smart plan set up for 30 days from now to reach out and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 30 days. Congratulations again on buying this home. Do you need a contractor? Have you found anything? How can I help you, right? Come from contribution. How can I help you? Do you need a handyman, a painter, or whatever? How can I help you? Right. And then definitely 1 year from the closing date, it automatically sends an email. Congratulations, happy anniversary, right? It will also put a task in Command to say, call them, wish them a happy 1 year anniversary, because we can't keep all this stuff in our head. It'll automatically generate this stuff. Once you set up that smart plan, all you have to do is assign it to people and it automatically will start.
Great. Why don't we do this before I dive into that? Why don't we take a 5-minute break? Sound fair? So reconvene at 10:10.
Okay, 10:10.
All right, thanks.
Up tags of birthdays every day and just calling those people.
Sure. Nick, there was also a question about your 36 touch smart plan. Wanted to know if you would share it.
Yeah, it's getting built, but I can definitely show you.
Yeah.
Although we probably shouldn't go through the technology piece of how to exactly do that, because there's other content.
We'll go down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
Yes.
They're asking that we demonstrate how to go into Command and go into contacts and click a smart plan. So
okay,
we'll walk through that.
Yeah. Tim, where are you? Where do you work?
Is there more than one Tim? There's a couple of Tims.
Well, I think you were the one you'd made that comment before, right?
Yes, I'm with the Keller Williams Concord, Mass office.
Awesome.
But I'm also part of a small team in the Bolton area.
Okay. I lived near Bolton for a little while, and my brother lived right next door to Concord for a little while.
Why would you leave?
well, I know you, seven degrees of separation or whatever.
Nick, you mentioned military background. I'm a retired Marine, so I understand checklist.
My brother was a Marine.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm outnumbered in my family. Every male on both sides were in the military except myself. So I've vicariously lived it through them.
I literally just got through driving cross country with my son, who got out of the Marine Corps on Tuesday of last week after 5 years.
Exciting. What did he do? What was his?
Aviation electronics.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
The one thing I concluded is I'll never make that drive across country again. My body hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
My son was in the Navy and he is not disciplined. With the Navy, it just like all of that just like fell out of his head.
Well, there's a little bit of a difference between the Navy and the Marine Corps. Just saying.
All right, let's start back. All right. So they would like, all right, let me go back to my screen so you can see me. So cultivating a buyer lead, it's a series of events, and I'm looking at another screen, so if I apologize. It's a series of events that gets you into a relationship with a contact and help cultivate to an appointment. So, you know, it's a transition, as I've said. They'd like me to show you command and how to kind of work through that. So I'll just kind of share my screen. I'm just going to pick somebody, Erin Louise. That's my niece, so I'll just I'll pick her. As you can see, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. As you can see, Erin, she's 12, so I don't have a whole lot of database. I don't have a lot of stuff on her, but first thing first, health contact score. I always try to have this around 92% or more. So it's just kind of a good goal to have. But you know, you can add neighborhoods. They don't live in Jersey anymore, but this needs to be cleaned up anyway. You can add a neighborhood where they want, and then that can be a smart plan. You've got smart plan link. You can add a smart plan, and then you have a list of different smart plans that you can do. So somebody had asked about a 36 touch. So what I would do is right now I'm building my 36 touch. So it will be one plan, but you can sign people up to multiple plans. Okay. So like if I want to call Erin on a quarterly basis, I would just say that there's 4 touches, right? So I'm going to call her once a quarter. And I would, my recommendation is 4 times a year. What I was doing was twice a year. And some people I was only doing a year on their anniversary. I was calling annually. I was doing a lot of stuff email wise and letter writing note cards. I find that handwritten notes are my bread and butter because so many people get inundated with email. So I write notes. You know, I try to do 10 notes a day. So if I bump into you in the street, you're getting a note from me in the mail. Hey, it was great seeing you. It was literally that simple. So you start this smart plan immediately and you confirm. And this will tell you what's going to happen. A call, a delay for 90 days, and that will repeat. And you hit confirm. And then I don't know why I get an error message, but I did.
Yeah, it says your niece doesn't have a phone number, Nick.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Anyways, I'm not going to add a phone number here, but as you can see, it's pretty easy. So add in a home anniversary, add in a home buyer, you know, a birthday, you know, and then it's really simple from there. And then the system will do a lot of it for yourself. Does that make sense? I know that I ran through that. Any questions on that?
I have a quick question. Can you group people together, or do you have to do it by individual contact?
You can both. You can,
You can do
it's
it in
called
bulk.
Yes, you can pull up a whole bunch of, talk to your tech person at your market center, but you can pull up a whole bunch of names, check all of them at once, and then say add bulk action, add to
Yep.
smart plan of whatever kind of smart plan, and then boom, you've now had, I think, up to 50 people at a time.
So if you chose 50 people and out of the 50 people you wanted to wish, like, you know, you have anniversaries coming up for 10, can you assign different assignments in that bulk category that way?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Okay. Thank you.
Can you guys give recommendation about the which smart plans we use for different situations? For example, a new lead that just came from like Facebook, for example, or a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, or somebody that wants to buy or sell but they're not ready yet, so we want to keep them in some sort of a smart plan to keep touches with them. So is there basically recommendations on interacting with them differently?
Yeah. Yes, there's a smart plan library. And actually, Nick or Michael, do you know where the smart plan library is from where you're at right now?
Well, here's the biweekly. This is what they have in store now.
There's somewhere where you can click a smart plan library. It might be on the left side of the screen.
So, yeah.
Here we go.
There we go. It's in there. And then the library gives you options of what other people have used, and you can look to see what is in each smart plan before you initiate it.
Yeah. So here's the 8x8 engagement, quarterly call plan, top rated here's 555. So there's a bunch of smart plans in here. But what I would also say, you can use this as a template. But what I would say is, what do you want your interactions to be like? You know, what do you want to do to make your selling experience unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people fly JetBlue because of what they, you know, how they do it, or some people fly Southwest because they love the funny flight attendants. You know, what are your things that are going to set you apart? Does that make sense?
Right.
I think these are great because it's easy. It's plug and play. At least it's something, right? And then you go in there and you would personalize it for how you want people to be interacted with.
So we can edit those?
Yeah, can you show us like how you personalize one?
If you go into not the top rated, Nick, but you go back to the library at the top of the screen. Oh, that is the library. Okay.
This is the library. Yeah. So view steps. So this would be the steps for, what is this, biweekly new neighborhood nurture, you know, so every 15 days. So you would add smart plan. I would download it. But if I want to, are you asking how I would create my own smart plan? So create, and I'm not going to go into this, guys, too deep here because this is just really into the weeds. And I'm just going to call it an email. I apply. This is what your tech people can do for you, right? So I want to create a task. So whatever task that is, you know, it's okay. So I create two tasks. So let me delete this.
Like a handwritten note is a task that's considered.
Yeah, exactly. Name task, handwritten note, right? That would be task 1. And then 10 days later, 14 days later, I want a phone call. And then, actually they've got phone calls over here. So I could just click a button and then there's make a call. I'm going to make a call in 14 days. Task name, how are you? So then you can send a mail, and then you can also put delays. So I'm going to delay doing my next activity in 30 days. Does that make sense?
Yes, actually, that's very helpful. Yeah, thank you.
So you could really personalize this and make this as unique as possible. You know, you'd have to set up for a Twilio account for the SMS, for the text messaging stuff. But I would say with the text messaging, if you set up an account, it's hard, but try to get a number with your area code, one. And then once you set somebody up in a plan, have your first text message go out to them and say, hey, this is Nick Danbury from Keller Williams. Just wanted to let you know, this is the number I used for text messages or something along those lines.
Can people opt out of that if they don't want to be receiving these texts?
Yes. Yeah. We'll say stop. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a way to start and automatically, let's say I put it in a Facebook campaign and a lead came in, can we just start them automatically on a plan that I create?
Yes. You do have, yes. Yeah, but you do have to attach that smart plan to those people, is my understanding. No, I think there is a way to make it completely automated. Facebook lead comes in, it automatically gets a smart plan attached to it. Yes.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
One question, how do you know when your person opt out? You know, they stop or they unsubscribe. Will it tell you?
It will be in there. It will be in their contact.
Okay.
Okay. Be in their contact.
Do you want to move back in through the Ignite material now in terms of, okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can stop sharing here and share screen. All right.
Tim has a good point. I'll let him make that right.
Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
Tim, do you want to share that point about the smart plans and tasks?
I'm sorry, you caught me taking a phone call.
Oh, sorry. You had made a great point about smart plans and tasks. We're going to shift gears, so I wanted you to have an opportunity to make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So smart plans are fantastic tools, and they create tasks that you'll see in command when you first log in. One of the most important things, though, is smart plans completely lose their power if you don't work your dashboard and you don't discipline yourself to time block to work that dashboard every single day, because otherwise the smart plans just lose their power and they fall apart. Worse, you start losing contact or continuity with your contacts, and you can't maintain that if you don't work that dashboard. So, smart plans are fantastic. Habits to work that dashboard and task is even more important. So, editorial comment.
Thank you.
Tim, I would agree with you 100%. What the task does is it boils down to 20%, right? And we've all talked about the 80. Well, I'm sure you've touched on the 80-20 rule at this point through your Ignite lessons, but it's the 20%. Do that list. Do your tasks that you've set up before you do anything else. And then that's the bread and butter. I mean, there are days where I'll go through and I'll just do all my tasks and I'm done. Like, that's my day. I'm done. I don't have anything else. I don't have an appointment. I don't have any appointments in the afternoon. So, my day's over with. So it gives you, that's kind of, that's actually kind of nice too. A sidebar, a lot of brokers, a lot of realtors, they struggle with that because they've never been in a business where they're their own boss. So it's like, well, I don't have to go to work today. I'll go to the beach or I'll go do this, but as long as you've done your tasks and command, then your day could potentially be over with. Does that make sense? All right, let's see here. So we practiced adding a smart plan, qualifying leads. Mike, Michael, if you could put in the lead sheet, that would be great. So qualifying a lead is, I would say, once you get the lead, it's the next most important thing to do. Once you get somebody who is, hey, I really would like to go see this house. We have all been guilty of it. But you need to ABC your client, you need, or your customer, because they're not a client at this point. And you need to determine whether they're ready, willing, and able to purchase. If they're, that's an A client, somebody who wants, they're ready to go. A B client is ready and able and ready, but not right now. And then a C is just not ready. You waste so much time, what I like to say in this whole thing is, you're a professional. So be a professional. this industry, at least in our market, is relatively low barrier to entry. And you've got to bring it to a next level. You've got to be, you know, what I always say is I want to be in the same bucket as your doctor, your attorney, your financial advisor. I want to be that professional, but I'm just dealing with your real estate. So you start that by not being at everybody's beck and call. So, you know, somebody calls you and says, hey, I want to see this house. Now, you don't have any clients. So you're closing the laptop, you're running out the door, and you're going to 123 Main Street, and you're like, all right, let's show this house. No, you know, so did you put that into the chat box for me, bud?
I did. There.
All right. So this is the buyer lead sheet.
You're a real estate agent and you're just driving your car. You're a real estate agent, not a real estate agent.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to, let me go back to,
But qualifying the buyer means like, do they have financing in place? Do they need to sell in order to buy? Are they?
So
we'll get into that too.
So I've added in the buyer lead sheet. I have one that I've personalized myself, and in my office I call them green sheets. It was I called them green sheets before I was with Keller Williams, so it made it very confusing when I was. So I would print these on a green sheet of paper, and that's why I called them green sheets. Okay, but I've made mine very personal because I know what questions I want to ask, you can make these. You can do all of these, but this is the first thing that happens in my office. Okay. This is what starts my funnel. Okay. Or with a lead. Once I get somebody on the phone, we pull out this piece of paper, we write in their name, their email address, their street address, their kid's phone, you know, all of that stuff. What I would do personally, and I'm surprised that Keller Williams hasn't, but I've edited my sheet. So I know that I'm going to get to a 92%. Okay. So in Command, this top form is everything that I want, so I can get mine to a 92%. So, hey, what's your birthday? What's your email address? Are you on Facebook? You know, things along those lines, things that are going to get me to a 92%. So that's the contact information. That's kind of where I would start. So you have all of that. So you have all of that. If you get pushback, a lot of the times people are like, well, how do you get that information? You know, it's all in a conversation. You know, I start it by saying, hey, before we get started, I'd just like to get some information from you in case we get cut off on the phone. I know how to get a hold of you. You know, drop calls nowadays are inevitable, it seems, in my market. Anyways, I'm dropping phone calls all the time. So that's just one way that I'll fill it all out. And then you do some qualifying questions. I used to, this is while they're on the phone. You can do this real quick if you want to go out. My business practice is I have a Zoom meeting with anybody before I go show them a piece of property. It was you're coming into my office and sitting down with me before I show you anything. And that's just the way I wanted to do business. I wanted to be a professional. And, you know, a doctor's not going over, you know, a doctor's not prescribing you medication without seeing you. So that's the way I used to do it. It's just, you got to come in and sit with me. And, you know, and if they didn't want to, I'd try 3 times. And if they didn't want to, then I basically would be like, okay, well, I don't really want to do business with you anyways. So you go through and ask these questions. And as I said, you set them up as you want. You know, has an agent taken you out or shown you properties? Yes or no? You know, it's pretty easy. That's really what I like to say is, are you working with another agent? Yes, I am. Okay. Have you signed a buyer agency agreement with them? Are you exclusively working with them? Yes, I am. Great. Give them a call. They'd be more than happy to show you the property. Off the phone, on to the next call. No, I have not signed a buyer agency agreement with them. Okay. You know, and then you dig a little bit, you know, you dig a little bit more. Is there anybody else buying the home with you? You know, you always want to talk to both people if there are 2 people involved. You don't want to go show a house to one person and then have to go show it again to the second person. So we're trying to streamline this so you are you're using your time wisely.
Sometimes you might have a parent that's looking for the kids.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and you set up your own parameters. I don't mind showing a parent if they're the one signing the check. You know, but if they're signing the check, but you know, Johnny needs to say that it's okay, then Johnny and the parents are seeing it together. How long you've been looking for a home? That's a good one. And you know, what's the motivation? So, you know, you're really what you're trying to find out is, you know, how serious they are, especially in today's world, because if you're not willing to go see a lender, or if you haven't seen a lender and do those things, or at least in our market, you know, if you're not, you know, if you're approved to 300, then you're looking at stuff that's 250 or 225, because you know you're going to bid it up. Are you renting now? That's another great question. You know, yes, I am. Well, are you in a lease? I am in a lease. Are you willing to break that lease if you find the right home? That's all about timing, right? Well, yes, I'm in a lease until August. Okay, well, anything we look at today is not going to be available, so we should probably start looking in June. Do you mind if I keep you, mind if we stay in touch? And then,
do they have the ability to overlap a rent payment with a mortgage payment if they found something and closed a little bit earlier?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Or overlap, because your first mortgage payment won't be the first month. You know, your first mortgage payment will be a month later. So you could theoretically overlap, own the house and be in the apartment for a month, where you're not expending any more money at that time.
Is there anywhere that we could find this, get this sheet?
It's in the chat box. It's in the chat, and it's in your Ignite toolkit.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Are you going to be paying cash or getting a mortgage? That's always a great one. If they're getting a mortgage, have you spoken to a lender yet? At least in our market, I insist that they speak to a local lender. I don't care, I'll give them a list of people that I like and use, but I'm not allowing. That may probably not be the right word, but I'm not allowing them to use Rocket Mortgage or something like that. A broker is going to look at that and be like, this isn't going to close on time. So we're using local lenders and local lenders only. Is my recommendation to people.
So
now,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Emma.
I had a Facebook lead that called me yesterday on a listing that is under contract that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him if you have an agent. He said no, and I was like, okay, I'll be happy to help you look for a home. And when I asked him to speak with a mortgage officer, he said no. Send me houses that I would like, and when I like something, I'll talk to a mortgage officer. And I kind of was taking back, and I said, how do I know your budget if you don't talk to a mortgage officer and get a pre-approval? But I don't know how else I can approach that situation.
Sure, you want to role play that for a minute?
Okay.
So you call me, right? And you want to see a listing that's already under contract?
Yes. And the question was, how much was this house for, basically?
How much was the house on the market?
It was for $269,000.
No. I'm just saying, let's have a conversation. Are you asking me how much the house was on the market for? Is that right, Emma?
Yes, correct.
Okay. While I'm looking up that information, are you only interested in this house, or are you looking for others, or would you be interested in other homes in that area?
No, I'm looking to buy.
You're looking to buy in just that area, or in all of, I don't know where you are, so I'm just going to pick a town. In all of Portland, or just or just Portland, or are you willing to go to South Portland as well?
I'm not quite sure. I just want to see what's on the market.
You just want to see what's on the market. So you're just kind of looking. Well, when do you hope to be in your new home, Emma?
See, I didn't ask him that. I don't know.
You don't know when you want to be. Well, you don't know when you want to be in your new home. So you're just kind of starting your search.
Correct.
Now, Emma, would you be paying cash for this house when you find the one you want, or are you going to have to get financing?
I think I'm going to need a mortgage.
You think you're going to need a mortgage? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in this super hot market right now, you're really going to have that in order. So have you spoken to somebody yet?
No.
No, you haven't. Would you mind if I had somebody reach out to you so we can get you pre-approved?
Okay, well, I'm not quite sure. I just want to find a house that I like first before I start taking actions.
Sure. So Emma, let me tell you what's going to happen. And obviously this is my market. What's going to happen is if I bring you to a house and it's on the market for $300,000, there's going to be about 40 showings, and they're probably going to get about 15 to 20 offers on that property. And you're not going to be very competitive unless we have all that stuff in place. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, and I don't mind helping you in starting your search. Why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a Zoom time? Would you have time at 2:00 this afternoon to set up a Zoom call with me, and I can help you work through this process?
Yes. Okay. Yes, we can actually talk at a later time. I'm driving right now. That's
driving right now?
what the guy said. Tell me. Yeah.
Sure. And then can you give me your phone number and email address, and I'll give you a call at a better time?
Yes, sure.
Great. Done.
Thank you.
And I would just call them.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Okay. It's all about a conversation. The person who controls the conversation is the person that asks all the questions.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Come from a place of curiosity. I mean, so for me, it's just easy because I'm a very curious person. And I was just like, well, why do you want to do it that way?
Yeah, the way that I came about is, okay, if you're ready to buy a house for your family, let's get you started. So the first step is to go to a mortgage officer. And instead of bouncing it back and forth as a question and answer, I should have, took the part where, are you paying cash or are you going to need a mortgage? What is it that you're looking for? And basically start pulling the rope with them. So I understand now.
Yeah, so I always go with, and I usually leave out the mortgage part. I always say, are you gonna be paying cash for this home? Because you'll get, yes, I am. Okay, great. Or you'll get, no way, I can't do that. Okay, great. So, I've got a bunch of good lenders that you can talk with. They're super reputable. Why don't I give you I'll have one of them give you a call, and I can email you 3 or 4 names so you can give them a call as well. You always want to be careful about steering. So I'll have the one lender that I really like, call them, and then I'll email them 3 or 4 other names.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Okay. And then, so you just go through the mortgage, and you go through these questions. Anyone else involved in buying your decision? Scale of 1 to 10. One of the questions that I really like, if I was to wave a magic wand, when would you want to be in your new home? Well, I want to be there before school starts. Okay, so we're going to have you in your house by August. So in our market right now, we've got a 45 to 30 day close. So we probably should be looking for property in June, in June or July. Oh, great. Because everything on the market right now is not going to be on the market. So we can start the search so I can understand what you want. But we're probably not going to get in the car and go see anything. If that makes any sense. And then this is where so for you, Emma, I just basically brought you through this. It was a much more condensed, and then I set appointment and a time. You want to come out of these conversations with phone numbers, emails, names, and personally addresses. It's just going to be a great way for you to be able to stay in contact. Any questions on this stuff, guys?
Nick, I'm piggyback on what you said. I think it's
go ahead.
That I think agents, sometimes we want to talk too much and we don't ask the right questions to let the client talk or the customer talk. And then what Nick said is just set the appointment. Yes, getting phone number, email, all that stuff is important. Just set the appointment.
Right.
Driving on a phone call or when somebody's trying to run off to a work meeting, you're never going to have the kind of success rather than just say, hey, I'm available later today, 2:00. Are you available? We'll set up a Zoom call, send you a link. Get face-to-face with them, coffee shop or Zoom or whatever it is, and set the appointment. Don't drown in all the details in the first conversation necessarily. I'm sure Nick would agree. If you can get face-to-face with someone, you're going to win them over 9.5 times out of 10, Nick. If you can get face-to-face with someone, move the conversation from a phone call to a face-to-face, you will win them over. Set the appointment.
I would agree.
that sounds like that approach would kind of put you in the vetting of the A, B, or C category too, if you move it and drive it in a way that says, okay, so let's get together, and they're like, yeah, I don't have time. Okay, so you're probably in the B, C category. Does that sound about right? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as you work them through your list of questioning, you're going to determine whether they're A, B, or C, right? An A buyer is, yes, I've got my pre-approval letter in place. I'm a cash buyer. I want to see this house, something like that. That's somebody who's ready to go. A B buyer is, hey, so, I've got my down payment ready. I've kind of spoken to a lender, but I haven't really signed up with anybody. So you got to fill that hole. A C buyer is, a C buyer is basically somebody who likes the idea, but hasn't done any of the processing yet. And then a D buyer is just delete. I'm trying to find. I was going to share my my intake form, but I'm trying to look for it right now. So sorry. Let me go. I don't need to bore you guys, so I'll move on. If I find it, I'll add it into the chat box. I think at this point, what we want to do is break off into groups, right, Michael? Break off into groups and allow people to go through and work this lead buyer sheet.
Yeah.
And while you guys are doing that, I'll find mine.
Right. It's going to assign everybody. What we're going to do is it's going to be groups of 2 to 3. It's going to be automatically and randomly set up. So just run through qualifying buyers. Each person take a turn. Hopefully all those who we can't see are able to do this, participate as well. If for some reason you get matched up with someone in a room that isn't able to participate, bounce back out of the room and we'll put you to a new room. Here we go.
And I just added the buyer lead sheet in the chat box.
I think it's doing it. Everybody's in a room. There's some people here. Here we go.
Good job.
There they go. I think it worked.
Hi, nobody was in my room.
Okay, I'm moving. Who's talking right now? I'm sorry, I can't.
Oh, Laura.
Laura. Okay, I'm moving. Yeah, I see that certain people are not. I'm moving them in. Give me just a second. Yeah, not everybody can participate. I see that. Laura, where are you? Laura, what's your last name?
Corcoran.
Gotcha. Let's see. Let's try that.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, are you still moving us towards rooms?
Yeah, who's speaking right there?
Tim Bassett.
Okay.
Hey.
Hey, Tim. Yeah. Where are you? Did you get an invite? It says it has not. You have not joined. Let me try and just move you to a new room.
Yeah, I think it'll work.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Jennifer's joining us back here too. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, this is so weird. I probably shouldn't have opened so many rooms. I don't know if you've ever done this. I'm like, this is the first time I've ever done this.
No, it looks like it's overwhelming. I haven't done it though.
Oh my God. Yeah, telling me. But hey, good learning experience. Hey, Ryan, did you get kicked out of a room?
I was all alone, so I abandoned ship.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can put you and Tim in a room. Jeez, this is unbelievable. And it's like, this is the first time I've done this, so I apologize.
We have no expectations. I
Well,
still
hey,
speak for myself.
let's do it right here. Tim, Ryan, do it. Let's do it. Well, I'll sit here with you.
All right, easy enough. All right, so we're figuring out if they are pre-approved.
Yeah, do a little buyer prequal.
Tim, which role would you like to play? I'm unfamiliar with the script. I've read it for the last 90 seconds, but happy to jump in. And I'm a brandy new guy, so I haven't had this conversation yet. So
Okay. And I guess I'll be the client since you're familiar. I think it'll go well, and I'll familiarize myself with it as you say it.
All right. So you'll be the buyer. Okay. So I mean, hey Tim, this is Ryan from Keller Williams. How you doing?
Hey Ryan, I'm good, thanks.
So thanks for reaching out. What made you reach out?
Oh, I would have called you because I'm a buyer, wouldn't I?
I mean, I figured I'd just get us rolling.
Might as well.
Drive the bus.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get some equity together and become a homeowner. So.
Okay. Absolutely. So, have you talked to a lender yet, or what is your financial status?
It's pretty incipient, I might say. No, I haven't spoken with a lender yet.
Okay. So that is something we want to understand what it is that you can purchase, so we understand your buying power. Things are moving pretty fast in the market, so if we're going to take a look at something and you want to have a realistic chance, we want to be able to have our ducks in a row and be able to put something on the table to compete for something. So we want to understand what is possible for you. Would you mind if I had somebody that I have a relationship with reach out to you, make it nice and easy for you, answer some questions, and get you pre-qualified? Be a big step in the process. Okay. I'll get your information, yada yada. So was the note that we would have somebody reach out and then also supply contact information for a few other people to avoid what was it, steering?
Steering, yeah.
Steering. Okay.
You always want to leave it to the client's choice. You can absolutely provide suggestions, but providing one suggestion is not choice. So usually, it's better to provide a couple of options. And of course, the buyer always has their option to go and find their own lender.
Right.
But you're coming from contribution and supplying resources. Right? Doesn't mean they have to use them.
Okay.
So Ryan, that was great. The list, you want to go through more of a systematic questioning. Like when think about it, when you go into the doctor's office and you sit down and the nurse is like, oh, so what hurts? Is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Is it a 5? So you're going through the whole process, to be able to best help them in their situation.
Yeah, So I'm really, I read the script once, and then once I got started going through it, I just reverted to just having whatever conversation felt natural. And so once I familiarized myself with, I agree, and I'm naturally a curious person. I didn't want to go down the wrong road, so I just kept it short and simple. But I will familiarize myself with the
I literally have that sheet in front of me.
Yeah.
Like it's the only, everything else is now memorized, but I have that sheet in front of me so I don't miss anything. Or a sheet like that. And I couldn't, I couldn't find the buyer when I found my listing one, but I couldn't find the buyer one. So,
all right, you guys want to switch to, Ryan, you be the agent. I'm sorry. Just switch roles.
Absolutely. Sure. Okay. So basically he's a buyer and I'm asking if he's pre-approved, and then you say yes or no. And I'll say, well, it's great. We can look at houses if he is pre-approved. That's it.
All right, Ryan, I'm sorry. Don't be so easy on him.
I took the easy one. Now I can be rude to you. So just, do you want me to be pre-approved, or if I'm not pre-approved, that kind of, well, no, never mind. Ignore that question. Sorry. Ring.
It's kind of the same. It's just the flip of a coin.
Yeah.
Right. So you're a buyer, and I suppose I don't understand exactly the series of events that led to us speaking.
Let's say that I got your name from somebody that it's a mutual acquaintance, and I wanted to reach out.
All right, sweet, yeah. So, all right. So you can call me then.
Okay. So ring.
Hello.
Hey Tim, my name is Ryan Burns. I got your name from Dan Cardarelli, and I'm looking at some houses, and he said you might be able to help me out.
Oh, Dan's a great guy. Yeah, no, that'd be wonderful. I'd love to look at some houses with you. Have you been pre-approved yet?
I have not yet been pre-approved, but I do have the funds. I have. I'm not buying cash, but I'm in a position where it won't be a problem.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah. Well, we should definitely get you pre-approved so that we can show you some competitive listings, so we have an idea of the spectrum of houses that you should be looking at, and then yeah, that'd be great. Would you like me to send you some mortgage broker information?
Some broker information or some lender information?
So the same, aren't they? Lender information.
Yeah.
Aren't those the same? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. Perfect. And then, but I also I would like to go out. I really want to see some houses, see some properties, get a feel for the market myself.
Oh, absolutely. That was a bit trickier.
Tim, do you have that sheet in front of you?
No, I don't actually. I don't know which one it was. I printed off the buyer lead sheet.
There you go. Let's go to the next question.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So if he asks you, I want to really see some properties. That's great. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to get you out. Go to the next question.
Moving through. Okay, cool.
Find one you haven't asked. You don't have to do it in order.
Yeah, that sounds great. Who's going to be living in your home?
So it'll be me, my girlfriend, and 2 dogs.
That's awesome. How long have you been looking?
Recovery, Tim. We're gonna bring everybody back into the room. Here we go.
All right, that makes sense.
Great.
All right. Oh, we have 60 seconds. So one thing, about that, I think Nick made the point earlier about we need to elevate how we view our profession. You go to the doctor, the doctor doesn't hesitate with asking you, where does it hurt? What's your name and social security number of all things, right? We just give our social security number to everybody who asks for it. It's ridiculous. So don't hide behind like, oh man, they're not going to give me this information. You are a professional doing a professional job, helping someone with the biggest financial transaction, most likely, of their lives. So don't be afraid to say, what is your name? What is your address? What is your phone number? You need that to be able to do your job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, here we go. 8 seconds. Everybody's coming back.
Boom, boom.
All right, Nick, I think we're all here. Take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. So I was listening in on a little bit of this, and what I would say is the biggest thing is just stick to your questions and keep rolling. Don't feel like you can't, don't get stumped and just keep going to the next one. So you gather all the information that you possibly can, so you can provide the best information for these people. That would be my recommendation. So get back to sharing my screen. Any questions? Did anybody else actually did anybody else have any ahas or any thoughts or anything like that from this qualifying sheet?
Well, I have a question for you and for Michael. The last question asks for a date and time, presumably to meet with them. Are you finding that it's mostly Zoom now rather than in-person meeting when you're trying to do the contacts?
I'll let Mike, you want to go first or you want me to start?
Yeah, I mean, the first meeting is right now every time on Zoom. I haven't, and I kind of preface it with, gosh, I'd really love to buy you a coffee, but we're in unsettling times right now. We're not quite out of the COVID quagmire. Can we please, let's set up a Zoom call.
Are you finding any resistance to passing along information like phone numbers and emails? Because that's the only way you got to contact them.
That's right. That's right. No, I don't get resistance for that. You just have to ask for it.
Okay. I'm doing what I had planned to do was do data farming. Get a street and get a list of the houses on the street in my town. So you be contact. I was going to contact them by mail and with my information. So presumably you're waiting for them to call back and then you follow up on that, right?
Right. Yeah. So if you're going to send out a mailer, you're going to hope that people are going to call you. Is that right?
Yeah, and it makes me a little bit nervous because I think the hit rate will probably be pretty low.
Very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to follow it up.
So like when LL Bean sends out a catalog, they're hoping for 1% of those people to buy something, and they're sending out massive numbers. So if you're sending out, I don't know how many, but if you're sending out 100, you may be lucky to get one person to call you.
Well, I'm hoping that using the method of actually writing a handwritten note and throwing my card in will increase that number, but I don't know whether it will or not. You still think it'll be that low?
Yeah, David, you need to add something of value in there. I've been doing this for 11 years, okay? And I've done farming.
Okay.
You're competing. Where are you, in Concord?
No, I'm in Rochester.
Oh. So you're going to be competing with some realtors. I'm sure you probably have some heavy hitter over there too, right? In your town. I mean, I have 2 in mine. My whole thing is that, and people mail, like, I'll show you something really crazy. This is the producer that sends out this. Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah.
She sends this huge, humongous postcard to the whole town. And then you see like realtors like me, like, oh my God, how am I going to compete with this girl? But the whole thing is that you have your connections. She has hers.
Right.
But you need to have something of value in there. Free staging, or are you going to do a free CMA? Something. You need something in there that you're gonna have someone call you. You need a clincher.
Call to action. You need a call to action.
Yeah, call to action.
Okay, right. You need a call to action. You need to sit down and think about what your call to action is.
Exactly.
Consistency. Consistency. You can't send one mailer and expect to yield anything. You gotta be consistent. Maybe it's a quarterly, maybe it's a newsletter type thing for your neighborhood, and follow up. Right? It's got to be more than just the mailer, especially if you're competing against that legal size postcard. I mean, that's ridiculous with all her past sales on it. That's tough
Yeah.
to compete with, right? Because, and it's been consistent. So she's just, even if people look at it for 2 seconds, throw it in the trash, they've done that every month for the last 3 years. So they're going to think of real estate. They go, oh yeah, where's that postcard? Let me get that postcard again.
Just to dovetail on what you're saying, Michael, I realized that that in this questionnaire, there is no reference to, oh, how did you hear about me, or how did you come to get my name and call?
Yeah.
And also to reference back as well that question number 12 is essentially setting up. It's almost as if it would be helpful to start with question number 12, which is, you know, how serious are you? Can we meet? And then work your way up to do the ABC.
Yeah, I find having a rapport first works better. If I come too strong out of the gate, people shut down. But the one that I've created, my very first question is, so how did you get my name and number? It's my very first question. Oh, I saw it in this ad, or I am calling on this listing. You know, because you need to, you're running a business, right? And you want to understand what's working for you, right? So you can pour more money into that. And David, back to
also determine where you go with the question.
Right. David, back to your mailer. I think it's a wonderful idea, but I also would say this is a contact sport. So you're going to generate more lucrative. You're going to generate more lucrative leads if you get out and bump and rub elbows with people. It's not going to cost you anything except your time.
Yeah, this was only one piece of it. I also am a Knight of Columbus, so I've got a whole plethora of people I can contact there.
That's where I would spend. Even if how long have you been a Knight?
Since I was 18, and I'm not going to say how many years.
I would dive into that organization so hard. I mean, you speak the language. You know, those are fun conversations for you, right? You're like, well, when did you guys join? How long you been here? Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's, you know, oh, what am I doing now? I'm selling real estate. You know, so it just kind of falls into the conversation.
Yeah, and I also heard over the last couple of days, a third prong I was going to use was my church association. So the first property a couple of people sold was members of their church.
Yep.
So.
Great. Yeah, I mean, those are two huge organizations for you that you can dive into. And I'm imagining I'm imagining the Knights of Columbus, you have names, emails, and phone numbers because you have a directory.
Yeah, I have to be careful, but yeah, I do.
Yeah. So.
Which is leads me to my last question, which is getting on the or getting information from the DNC. Is there a phone number or just Google it and call that number to make sure that you're not calling anybody that you shouldn't? The do not call list.
Yeah, no, I know what you're asking. If they have contacted you, then you don't need to worry about do not call.
I'm thinking more of going the other way about contacting them.
I would run back to your office and find out what their protocol is. They've specifically asked me not to comment on legal advice. So
gotcha.
That I would go to your OP or your team leader or your productivity coach. And they can help you navigate that course for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't answer that a little bit better.
Do CMAs normally cost money?
No. I mean, it depends. It depends on, you know, if you're doing a broker price of opinion for a bank or something like that, then you can charge. But I don't know your rules in your state. In my state, you have to be an associate broker to be able to do a broker price of opinion. And they're not very, you know, giving them away for free is definitely something that you can. It's definitely a call to action. It's definitely a nice item of value. You know, but I would think bigger than that. I would think different than that. Like if your call to action is, hey, let me give you a free CMA, I would think about how many brokers are doing that. You know, what are you going to do to differentiate yourself? You know, how about this is one that I've been kicking around, so I'll give you this idea. And I haven't finalized it yet, so don't give me too much of a hard time. Thinking about selling your house. Let me show you how to sell your house and stay in it, right? I mean, so many sellers are like, well, where am I going to go? Well, if I can sell your house and I can get you to stay there for another year while you figure out where you're going to go, you have your cash in your hand, and so you have your ability to look, but you also have your money, so something along those lines. So if you could get a seller, and I'm talking about sellers, but buyers, what I would say is, back to my, would you like to know about a home before it comes on the market? My office is the number one. We're the number one office in the state of Maine. We have an internal Facebook group where I know about properties that are coming on the market before anybody else. Would you like to know what those properties are? That was kind of my thinking. But CMA, yes, you can give CMAs away all the time.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps or not, but
no, it does. Thank you.
I always go back to because JetBlue gets me all the time. It's like $59. You can go somewhere, because I'm a big traveler, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna click on that email, and then I'm down this rabbit hole, and I'm buying tickets, for $300 to Texas, because so but all right.
Can I add one quick thing from our role play with the buyer lead sheet?
Yeah.
One of the things I'm dealing with right now, like with first-time home buyers or people that are moving out of the city, a lot of my clientele are buyers in their first-time home buyers in their early 30s. And I think one of the questions that they didn't ask themselves was, okay, my lease is up, or my lease is coming up, or I'm shopping around, where, or I own a condo and I need to sell this condo to buy my next house. And one of the questions I think a lot of them haven't thought about is, where am I going to live in the meantime, right? If it doesn't overlap perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the questions I think that might fit into this buyer sheet is just kind of helping people understand, do you have in-laws you can stay with, or can you stay with your parents for a month, or can your lease extend you month to month as you're looking? Something that adds a little bit of value, because I think some of the people I've been talking to just really haven't thought about that. They just think that it's all going to evenly play out, and they don't realize the market is so intense that it might not evenly work out like that. And I've noticed in those conversations, adding that value of just asking the question of where are you going to end up, and how can we transition you in a good way, and setting expectations right. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, or if there's things you can add to it that would help, but those are the questions I'm kind of dealing with some of my buyers right now.
Yeah, Tyler, that goes back to personalizing that sheet. I would use that as a framework, and then add the questions in it that you find would be helpful, and then you also be unique to you. Right? So, but that's a great question. Well, where are you going to go? What's your plan? So I would use that as a framework, and then build on it. Add questions into it that make you the expert. Right? That's what you're trying to get across in this initial conversation. You're trying to get across that you're the expert and you know the market. Does that make sense? Does that help?
No, that's great. Thank you, Nick.
So we found the buyer, we've cultivated the lead, we've massaged the lead, and now we're on the phone with them. We qualified that lead. Okay. Now we're going to get them to sign the buyer agreement. Okay. That's the next stage of this funnel. What time are we at? Okay. We're cruising. We're doing well. Okay. So let me just open up this back up. So the next stage of this funnel is getting people to say, yeah, I want to work with you and only you. How do you do that? So what am I doing here?
Can I ask a question if you don't mind?
Of course. You can ask many questions as you would like.
So for the lack of experience, I get a lot of questions about, they wanted details about closing costs. They want detailed steps about what to expect as a buyer. And besides the buyer presentation that's on command, I don't have a comprehensive resource that tells me the steps that we're gonna take as a buyer, as well as what they should expect financially to pay. For closing. So where can I find that information? I couldn't find a toolkit or a sheet.
Okay, I'm going to rephrase your question so I make sure that I grasp it. You want to understand ask the question again so I can grab it.
So they want to know the steps that they should plan for as buyers for the buying process, from the step they sign with me, or from the step that they get the pre-approval until they close on a house. They also want to know what costs they should prepare for the closing. For example, I know that there is a down payment, there's earnest money deposit, and there's the attorney and the closing attorney and the inspection. But besides that, I really don't have experience on what else I should prepare them for costs.
Okay. All right. Great question. Okay. So just give me 1 second here. Sorry.
Emma?
Yes.
Well, no, I was just going to refer to Emma that that was just recently taught in a class of mine, and I have some paperwork that I could share, but I don't have it digital. So maybe, Emma, I can email it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So Emma, what I feel that you're asking is I'm going to share this here. So this will give you kind of an understanding. Do you see this? Do you see it says buyer guide?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So in Command, you can create one of these in the design category. It's your buyer presentation. Okay. And
Yes.
what we've done is the funnel. Let me stop this here. We got the lead, we cultivated the lead, we got them on the phone, we asked them the questions. Okay. So we said, are you ready to go? Blah, 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 blah. They're ready to go. You've decided that you want to show them property or work with them. Then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to have, a presentation with them. You're going to say, okay, for me, this is my commitment. Who I am, but really it's steps for success. Okay. We're going to have a buyer consultation. So you've set the appointment, you're going to meet with them. You're going to talk about that. You're going to talk about what you're trying to do. You're committed to finding them a home, what the current market conditions are. And then you're going to talk to them about financing options. Financing options, you can really dive into this rabbit hole. I would recommend that you meet with a lender that you like, that you want to create a relationship with, and they can kind of tell you all the nuances of that. Get some old HUD sheets and look at what the costs are. But anywhere from 2 to 3% is going to be what the closing cost, or 2-ish% is going to be what the closing costs are, and that's at least in my market. So it's a good gauge, right? But creating a buyer guide for your person is, I think, what would answer a lot of these questions. So you're going to push them through, literally I pull this PDF up and I walk them through the steps. Okay. These are the loan processes. And then I have things of the do's and don'ts. Don't go buy a car while we're trying to look for a house. Pull all your accounting together and do all that stuff. And then we'll be searching for a home and what that looks like. So you're mapping this process out for them, and they're understanding what they're going to go through, especially if they're a first-time home buyer, because they've never done this before. So they're really, really gun shy, and especially in this market, because you're walking somebody into a house and you're like, okay, you're going to need to make a decision. Well, what do you mean? Like, no, I need to write an offer right now. I just did this with a client yesterday. They're what? The offer has to be in 45 minutes. I thought I could sleep on it. No, you can't sleep on it. I need to write this offer now if you want to get this house. So it feels very uncomfortable because you're pushing so hard. You're like, I'm trying to do right by you. If you want this house, we got to move. So if you front load all of this stuff and answer all of these questions, they're going to feel much more comfortable. So building a guide like this that you can do it in Command. They've got templates. That's the word I'm looking for. And then you can talk to them about viewing a home, what it looks like, you know, how we do that. And then what happens after we find the house. We develop a pricing strategy, we write and negotiate the offers, and then we manage the transaction for you. So, and then in my buyer guide, I've got some, what should you know? What is an earnest money deposit? What is title insurance? And this all comes from, well, for me, for years of experience, like answering all these questions 1,000 times. Well, what's an earnest money deposit? You know, what's a title insurance? You know, building inspection, what to expect during a building inspection. So really building this guide and really putting a lot of thought and time into this, it's going to save you on the front end. And here's closing costs, you know, so like I've listed all the closing costs, an application fee, you know, some lenders charge them, some lenders don't, transaction fee, you know, I mean, so, you know, kind of a survey fee, you know, so it just kind of goes through that. And then, you know, testimonials, but anyways, so does that kind of like, does that answer your question? Give you a little bit of light on that?
Very much. Is this on command?
This is mine. I made this, but Command has a template for a buyer guide and a listing guide.
Okay.
And you can go in there and you can create your own. It's in the design category. It's in the design section. There's also a gentleman, YouTube Marty Miller, Command 66-day challenge. I think he's on like 3.0 at this point. But if you go through that, there's a lot of great information in there. And then also KWRI is pretty amazing. And your technology, I'm sorry, guys. Your technology person at your office can help you with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
So Callie, you have a lot of requests. Would there, so you all who put your email address into the chat, please send Callie an email so she can respond to you, because she's not going to go in there and write everybody's emails down. So if you're interested in what she's offering, email Callie directly and she'll respond back to you, please. And thank you, Callie.
Great. I'm not sure what that was about, but awesome.
Thank you. No, I just had a document that I've had from a prior course that I was able to share with Emma's question.
Oh, good.
How to talk a first-time home buyer through, you know, the conversation about, you know, what you can afford and what you can't afford. And I mean, it's a little bit more in the counseling area. Yesterday, we got some coaching that, you know, we're not really lenders and we're not accountants. We have to stay in the real estate arena, like you were saying, Nick, but we want to be in that bucket of useful people. So, however, it was covered in a course that I took, and I'm happy to send it along to anybody who would like to email me at calliegreen@kw.com. I'm not sure if it's proprietary, but it seems like it was put out by NAR or anyway, it came down through me, so I'm happy to pass along to anyone else. So
that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me go back to this. Here we go. Share screen and share. All right. Slideshow. Start from current slide. All right. So sign the buyer agreement. At this point of the game, you're going to sit down with them. I do this over Zoom now. I think, David, you asked this question about Zoom. I'm finding that it's allowing me to do a lot more of them in one day. You know, so like last Friday, I had 4 buyer presentations back to back to back to back. So it was super helpful. And it's allowed me, the technology has allowed me to have more time. And for me, it's more time, more personal time. So I'm able to stack these, and I'm going to try to do this remotely. So it's been a really interesting ride here. So So you qualify the buyer, you get them in a Zoom call at this point, or sitting down in front of you. But most offices are closed. At least main offices are closed right now. They can't. General public can't come to our office right now. So it has to be over Zoom. So you'll create some sort of buyer presentation on the Zoom, showing your worth and why they should sign a buyer agency agreement with you to go see homes. And the buyer guide that I showed you is a piece of what I do. Then I go in and I'll show them market statistics about how active the market is, and as well as showing them that most likely they're going to have to offer over list price for a home if they want to get it. And that's sometimes a very hard pill for people to swallow. I was with a woman yesterday. Yeah. And she's looking at buying a house that she's currently renting. And she's like, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. And I was like, none of that matters. In this market, none of that matters. If this goes to the general public, there's going to be 15 people who want to buy this house. So you've got an edge here, and you should just do what you need to do, buy the house if you want to buy the house. So, it's kind of walking the people through the process of what's going to happen and how to get them there. Heidi, do you have anything to add on that? Or did we lose Heidi?
I think just letting people know that this is going to be emotionally a difficult ride, that they're probably going to be outbid several times. They're going to have to potentially pace their emotion. You're going to be right there with them. So on the emotional connection side, just keep in touch with them about what their fears are, because it's going to be taking it away from just that you're just transactional in terms of only there for paperwork, or I think part of your professional expertise is just making them aware of the emotional difficulty of what they're about to step into in this market.
Yeah. Nick, question for you. How many times, I'm sure hundreds of times, how do you handle the situation where you got a buyer and a lister, you brought them together, that you're going to have to, do you ever get asked the question, how much should I offer? I guess is a question, because it goes back and forth with making an offer above and beyond what the asking price is. How do you handle that?
Yeah, great question. So you've got to know the market, right? And I've made it my practice not. This is going to sound. I don't know how to phrase this. I've made it my practice not to advise them on what they should offer, because I'm always fearful that somebody's like, well, you told me to offer this much money. So what I will do is I use open-ended questions. So one of my scripts is, if Nick, what should I offer? Well, we're in a very competitive market, so you're at least offering full price and most likely more. What I'm finding right now is things are selling for 10% over list, if not a little bit more, but somewhere around there, between 7 to 10% list. And you can pull up data. If you know your market really well, you can pull up things that have sold or closed that are similar to that, and you can say, okay, this was listed for 250 and it closed for 283. So that's a little bit over 10%. So you give them the data, right? You give them the information. What I also tell them is offer something that if you look at yourself in the morning the next day and you've lost the property, you're okay with it. You don't want to be second guessing. You don't want to say, oh, geez, I really should have offered a couple $1,000 more. Whatever you offer, be okay with what you offered. Because if you call me and say, hey, geez, Nick, what did 123 Main Street sell for? Well, it sold for 300,000. Oh, geez, I would have bought it for 300 grand. You don't want to have that conversation. Does that help you, David?
To piggyback on that a little bit too, I will sometimes say, if it's sold and you ended up finding out that it sold for $3,000 more than what you were going to offer,
do you think that that will bother you?
Mhm.
And they'll say, oh yeah, that would bother me. I said, what if now I'm going to do this exercise? So I'm just kind of making a point from an exercise, but I would then ask you, what about if it were $5,000 more than you offered? And what about $8,000 more? And when you get to the dollar amount where you're just like, oh, no way, I would not pay that much over, that's your tolerance point. And so just to like give them that tool without actually making them answer the question to me, gives them a sense that, oh boy, you know, it's putting it through a different filter.
Yeah, great. It's a great thing. You know, and David, if you don't have the experiences, talk to people in your office. You know, talk to somebody who's an active buyer agent or has an active team, where you can say, geez, what's an experience that you've had recently with making an offer? You know, and I had one, you know, I think I used this earlier in this conversation, which is, you know, I had a client write an offer on a house that was on the market for $280,000. She offered $350,000, no inspections, and didn't get the property. She didn't get the property. 70 grand over list with no inspections, didn't get the home. And they're like, what? So, you know, that's
why.
Because that's our market.
Mm-hmm.
That's our market. Yesterday there was a property on the market for $460,000. I had a client write an offer for $500,000, no inspections, didn't get the home. I asked to be in a backup position. They countered me at $560,000.
Are these homes appraising with the banks? I mean, what is happening?
What we're having in our market is people are writing into their offer that says, I'll pay $30,000 over appraised value.
And a note saying they love the house.
Yep. Be careful about those notes, by the way, as buyer agents, because you could potentially open your, well, as a buyer agent you couldn't, but as a listing agent you could potentially open yourselves up to fair housing problems, especially in this active market if somebody doesn't get a house.
So what I've been doing too is, when you said know your market, is before they make an offer, when they're having this question about like how much more should I go over, is I'll pull up all of the pendings, so the ones that are under contract, and I pull up the solds, and I'll look for what the price was and what the closed price was. And I'll show them, okay, like you can see how many of these went for how much over asking price. Or if they're looking at the pendings, the ones that are under contract, how many days did they get under contract? So if it was all like 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, then you know it was probably a multiple offer, because they were probably holding offers to be due on a certain day. So then you can say, you know, I imagine based on those compared to the ones that sold for how much, you know, a lot more over asking, this will probably be in that situation too.
You also ask them what they'd be comfortable going over the amount.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally in a normal market, what I say to buyers is, how much are you pre-approved for? And they're not going to tell you if they've gotten pre-approved for every single bit of money they have, but it's what they've shared with the lender to get pre-approved on. I say, okay, so now you're pre-approved for $350,000. Now, what is your comfort range to buy a house? Because that way it shows them that I'm not looking to try to find a house for them that's going to max them out up to their pre-approval.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. So when we talk about knowing our market, this is a market report that I subscribe to. They pull the data on a monthly basis, and I get these sent to me. So when we're looking at data and becoming an expert in the market, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. You get these on a monthly report, and you look at this. Now your MLS, you can do these in your MLS. For me, it's just a time saver. So they pull all the data, and you can show this to your buyers. You know, okay, you're between $250,000 and $300,000. There's 7 houses on the market with a median days on market of 4. 74% pending ratio. And
where did you find this? Where do you find this?
Yeah, so this is a company that pulls this together for me. It's called realmarketreports.com.
Okay.
You know, so you can show them. You're like, look at this price point. If you're between 300 and 350,000, our market in Greater Portland is 5% over list, minimum.
Ugh, look at the absorption rate. This is horrible.
Look at these absorption rates. Half a month, not even a month, So an absorption rate, if you guys don't know, basically says in 0.3 of a month, all 9 of these houses are going to be sold if no new property comes on the market. So having this data and being able to sit down, like, and I pulled this up with a buyer, and I did this morning right before I met with you guys. I said, this is what you're entering. So, you know, you're going to lose a few, but you're going to have to be really aggressive. And I'm going to make some suggestions. You're going to make the decisions. The advice is mine and the decisions are yours to get the home. But, you know, 80%, 83% pending ratio, 0.2 between 4 and 450.
What are we supposed to do with regular humans that are not equipped to do such things as be so aggressive? Or like, I feel like I'm sure you know normal people that can't just throw a bunch of money at someone or can't go 30,000 over appraisal. Like,
Great question.
what's the best advice as like morally and like?
Yeah, if they're approved up to 300, you're looking at 225.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Pick a different, either a different price point or try to open up their list of wants and needs a little bit and see if they're even interested in looking in a town that they weren't originally thinking of.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did suggest to one buyer, because he was like, you know, I had him on the auto emails, and so like at first he was like, oh, I'm not that picky, no big deal, but then he kind of ended up looking at all the ones that are coming on new, and I'm like, but then it's like all this urgency and like, you know, we don't necessarily have a ton of money to throw at it. So I was like, maybe go back and look at the older properties, because those sellers might be more desperate now. But I don't know. I feel like most of my people are not going to be able to go so high.
Yeah. So Amber, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to say is you need to be the confident one.
True. Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I play the game confident. Don't.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying. You need to be the confident one. You need to be the expert, and you just need to give them other solutions. So if their max is 300, I'd look in a lower price point. As Heidi said, I'd look in a different town.
True.
I would, you know, I would try to find something that's not on market yet.
Right.
Mail a street. You know, hey, I'm really interested in this street. Mail a street.
Yep. Just jotting this down. These are great advice. Thank you.
How do you find houses that aren't on the market yet?
How do you do it? Yeah. So, you know, some of the door knock would be the easiest. If you have a buyer, you know, I'm working with a buyer in Brunswick, and they said, Nick, I'm only interested in these 4 streets. So I'm mailing those 4 streets on a bi-weekly basis.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's one thing to do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Will it be safe to advise your buyer to go higher on the offer, since if you know the house won't appraise for that much, just to give them the opportunity to have their offer accepted?
You can try that, but if it appraises, they're stuck.
Yeah, well, just kind of have that conversation with them, just kind of educate them, like, okay, so just make sure you're going to be okay if it appraises for this much. Just know that the house is worth that much, and so that way you're not feeling like you advised me to do that and now I can't afford it. Just to have that conversation, make sure you can't afford it, make sure you're going to be okay with the amount that will appraise. Just even go even higher, just to kind of get their offer accepted. I'm not sure if I should use that.
I mean, I wouldn't personally. I would not approach this as, okay, it's not going to appraise, so you're going to get it for less. I think that's setting your buyer up for, you know, I haven't in this crazy market. I have not run into many appraisal issues. Even these things that are going, because we have been in an inflated market like this, or an active market like this, for at least the last 6 months. So these appraisers have a lot of data that they can dump into. I mean, I had a client who appraised. I didn't think it was going to. It was property was on the market for $475. We closed at $555. $70,000 over listed appraised. $75,000 over listed appraised. I was like, whoa, okay. So that's a new data point, right? That's a new data point. And that actually, the appraiser that appraised that called me 2 days ago He's like, when's it closing? I was like, well, it's closing tomorrow, because he had one on the other street that he wanted to use, because he wanted to use that as a comp. So, you know, we have these delayed timelines. So I would just be fearful that you're advising your client that, well, if you offer 550, it's probably going to come in at 525, and then you can buy it at that. It may not. Now, it doesn't mean when that's great. Here's another point. The seller can say, we're under contract for 550. I don't care that it appraised at 525. You can buy it at 550 or you cannot. And you can, at that point, you know, the seller may say, this is what we're buying. And now ultimately your client can get out because they didn't get the financing, but it doesn't mean that the seller needs to come down on their price.
Yeah, I get that. No, I was just saying as a way of them getting their offer accepted, and you know.
Yeah. You know, what we're finding now is people that are trying to get financing that are going overly excited on the offer. People are writing in an appraisal clause that they're willing to pay appraised value more than the appraised value. You know.
But know your client though. If your client's only going to be in that location for the next few years, then you want to have the conversation that if the market goes down and they need to sell in 3 years, you know, they're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
That's a conversation you should have with every buyer. That's a great point, Heidi. How long are you going to be in this house? Well, 3 years. I don't know if you should be buying right now.
Okay.
You know, you got to be the advisor, you know, because it happened to me in 2008. I sold a house to a client, and then they ended up, the market went south. Nobody really knew. I don't think I did anything wrong. They called me in 2009 to sell their house because they were moving. They had to bring $75,000 to the closing table. That was not a fun closing for me. I mean, they called me to sell it again, which was nice because I did a good job, but it was not fun to watch somebody lose that much money. So.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the screen because I think we're almost wrapped up here. Does any other questions?
Yes, please. So if the buyer wants to, you know, buy a house and they have a house for sale, how do you go about that? Do you want to put them in the contract for the new house first and then find them the home?
So if they have a house to sell, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, so they have a house for sale and they're also looking to purchase one.
Okay. Do they have the ability to buy a house, another house, while they own the house that they're in?
No, so they need to like no, they don't have it.
Okay. All right. So in my market, they would not be a buyer because most of the offers are going to be a multiple offer situation, and a conditional offer, conditional upon the sale of your house, is not going to fly.
I see.
What you could do, and I kind of touched on this, you could do is you could get their house on the market and you could say, my seller cannot move until he finds suitable housing, whatever suitable housing is, whether that be a new house or that be a rental or that be, you know, something like that.
I see.
Potentially work that. I'm going to list, so I'm putting something on the market today where she doesn't have a place to go. And we're saying, okay, we can either close early or she's not moving for 6 months, you know? So something along those lines. Think outside the box and about what, you know, what somebody can or can't do.
I see. So attorneys will.
I couldn't hear you. Can anybody else hear that?
So attorneys can negotiate that, right? Like they have to, if they want to stay like extra 60 days.
Well, in my state, I would negotiate that. So I don't know I can't answer that question.
No.
No, so what I would do is that when you put the property on the market in internal remarks or on the disclosure or wherever, I would say at that point that this person can't move until this day, you know, or this person can't move until they find suitable housing. Heidi?
Yeah, you just
Thank you.
Sorry, I was just touching my hair, not raising my hand, but so I would it's setting the expectation, and it will work out well for some buyers because some buyers will need to stay in a rental, just say for the next 4 months, so the timing could be perfect for them. or they're staying with family. So setting the expectation in the beginning is already either weeding out the buyers that you don't want and attracting more buyers who might be hesitant to make an offer because they might think, oh, like in this market, we have to close in 3 weeks or we're not going to get, our offers chosen.
Right. How many people here have buyers right now that would be willing to close on a house and not move in it? Yeah. Right. So there's so many buyers out there right now. So if you can get your lister to say, hey, I'll sell it, but I'm not moving for X days. I mean, I had somebody stay in their house for 9 months. Oh, and by the way, that was for free.
Yeah. In this last year, I've had eight of my clients stayed. It's called possession after closing. They stayed in their place after closing for longer.
Right. So they got their money.
How come that's free when they stay in their house?
Because that's the way we negotiate.
It doesn't have to be free.
Was that because of
Because
COVID?
it's a seller's market and it's
Or
the term of the
because
contract.
I mean, like, can you dial in on that a little bit? Was that because of COVID that they were concerned about moving during a time that it was really like
She was building a house.
Usually it's an inventory issue for my people, like that they just need more time to go find the place that they're moving to.
Yeah. Yeah. Need more time to find it. They're not ready to move at that point. You know, what they're going to isn't available yet. I've done it with people that are going to like assisted living, So I've said these people need to stay in their house until, until their spot at Piper Shores is open.
Nick, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have a potential seller. I know I did the comps. I know exactly what the house is going to be, for sale for or to list for. The problem is she wants legit like $100,000 more.
Yeah.
What do you do in that circumstance? Like, people are going to come and they're going to be like, okay, this house is not worth such and such.
Sure. So great question. And I deal with this. I've been dealing with this a lot lately, right? Because all the sellers are like, oh, my house is worth $1 million.
Right.
So what I've been, and I was very successful with it the other day. I was with a property we put in Portland. The gentleman wanted he wanted at least $525,000 for his house. And I said, listen, if we listed it for $525,000, you're not going to get it. What we need to do is we need to list it at $475,000. And you're going to get that. So we ended up getting $550,000, $75,000 over list because of the pent up demand. Now people, well, what if I don't get the 525? Then don't sell it. I'm not forcing you to sell your house. If you don't get the 525, then you don't have to sell you don't have to sell it for 525. So I just educate them that if we put the property in the right position of the market, it's going to have the most eyeballs. Price is a simple function of supply and demand. Okay. If we put it in the right spot, we're going to have a lot more demand and it's going to drive the price up. If we put it in the wrong spot, we're going to have less eyeballs and people aren't going to look at it. Now, in my market, we know real quick. And then I listed a house for $575,000. I was over list. I was like, this is too much. And she's like, well, I want to do this. Fine. We had an agreement that we would bring it down after a certain amount of time.
Right.
After 1 week, I brought it to where I wanted it. And I ended up getting her $565,000 because it ended up back in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah. So here's my situation. It's a 5-bedroom house, 3 full baths. All the baths were all redone. The kitchen's very tiny. It's in Natick, Mass, and there's like nothing on the market there.
Yeah,
So
Natick's awesome.
I did have the open house. I had probably about 40 people.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm scared about is it's 4 days on the market now, and I have to have the talk with her. And I told her, we'll run with your price. And we have it on for $769.9. I go, but we need to drop it down, to at least $729. You know what I mean? Where I feel that it's going to be able to sell, and honestly, high sixes, low sevens would have been the sweet spot for this house because it does need some.
I'm gonna pause you right there, Laura.
Yeah.
Don't do your clients any disservices on this call, right? Because I don't know
Yeah.
how many other brokers are on this phone call right now that work in your market. Okay.
Yeah.
so
Okay.
I'm gonna pause you there.
Yeah.
I would have a conversation with your client that, listen, if we try this, that we tried this, the market told us. I'm not telling you, the market told us. We had 40 people for your house with 0 offers. We're
Yep.
overpriced.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
And then let's get and this is what I also say is, in the age of technology, real estate goes stale in about 2 weeks. People start to think there's something wrong with a house in 2 weeks. When I first started this, it was like 6 months. You know, what was wrong with that house? Now it's about 2 weeks because everything is on social media, Facebook. You know, we're doing such a great we're just doing such a great job marketing these properties that so many people are seeing them over and over. And everybody's on Zillow or your KW app, and they're going, "Oh, I saw that house yesterday. It's still in the market. There's something wrong with this house."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you need to get it down. We overshot the runway. We tried. We need to get it down. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're going to actually get less money if we don't move now.
Yep. Yep. Thanks, Nick. Yep.
Didn't mean to jump on you, but you can probably
No.
You got some colleagues that are probably like, "Whoa, let's go."
No, that's exactly right. Yep. Nope. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, Nick.
Great guys. Yeah.
I've got a friend who put his as a FSBO it was on for 565 days. And I kept thinking, boy, he must have it overpriced because in this market, it would have sold. He finally went with a realtor and they had it sold in 2 weeks for more than he had it on for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that's dive into on that note, dive into the NAR stats, because most for sale by owners, they'll get 8 to 9% less than what a realtor can get them. So everybody wants to save the commission. I'm going to make you more money if you list with me. I promise you. So that's great. Let me go back to where did it go? Where is it? Yeah. I think we've talked about signing the agreement. Let me just share this. Where did it go? There it is. Sorry, guys. Working on this small screen. Play current slide. So I can't say it enough, guys. Don't be afraid. Make a relationship with people. Make a relationship with people. Build a rapport. Ask for the business. You know, no's don't hurt. You know, no's don't hurt. Just keep getting in the nose, and you're gonna find the yes. So just ask for the appointment, sit down, walk through your process, ask for the deal, ask for the contract. I can't tell you how many brokers or real estate agents don't do well because they don't ask for the business. You got to get over that. You got to get over that fear. You got to get over that fear. And you do that by practice. Ahas and recap. That's kind of where we're at this point in the transaction. Ahas and achieve.
One more question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The buyer guide that you showed us, is that something if we send you our email, you can share with us so we can get an idea, like to do our own base, like that, maybe get some idea?
Yeah, I don't mind sharing that at all. Just you put. I'm assuming I'm not going to write everybody's email down now. I'm assuming that I can get this at a later point.
Yeah, if you can.
If I
can
can't
share
get
your email.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can we
but I would
also
just-
have a copy of that buyer guide that you have, if you don't mind sharing it?
I think that's what he just asked for. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. What I would say is, in Command, they have one that is great. And if you haven't built your app yet, that's another great place. You know, it's a great place to think about, you know, how you want to do it. But yes, sure, I'm more than happy to.
Thank you so much.
One of our core values as a KW agent, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just put Nick's email in the chat box for those who are able to see.
There's 2 @ in the email.
2 ampersands.
Oh,
Great.
sorry. Yeah, my apologies.
Anybody else? Any other recaps or ahas or anything else you want to touch upon? That being none.
How much do you pay for real market reports? That was a pretty impressive presentation.
So they have multiple levels, and I'm an old Yankee, so I'm cheap. So I think it's like $25 a month at most. I think, but they have reports that go up to either like 6 or 7 pages. Now, so what market do you work in?
I'm in Portland right now, Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine. Yeah. So for us, obviously, we've got Portland, South Portland. So what I've done is I've made mine Greater Portland, and I chose what towns I wanted. You can have a report for Portland. You can have a report for South Portland. You can have a report for all these different little communities. But I think they're $25 a month per report. So like if you want one for Portland, one for South Portland, like I have one for Portland, I have one for Portland North, and I have one for Portland South, right? So depending on whom I'm working with, that's what I'm using. And I deal more in the luxury market. So you can adjust those scales. You can say, geez, I want to start at 400,000.
Oh, cool. If you're on a team, does it go to all team members or is it just individuals?
On my team, everybody has access to that.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. So on my, that's one of my value adds for my teammates. Yeah. Access to all my systems is on my team is part of what you get.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I think they've got like let's see here, a little goal session here that they kind of want you to look at. Yeah. Goals to set your career on fire. 10 contacts added, 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes, and 10 home previews a week. I can't, if you're new in the business, I do this to this day. Whenever I'm feeling like I'm not doing anything, I had my admin book showings for me, and I just go to see property. And I go look at property, and I go look at property, and I go look at property. Or if you're not set up on a hot sheet, set your MLS up on a hot sheet. Look at the hot sheet on a daily basis. But home previews is huge. Home previews, knowing the inventory is enormous. In following the inventory, I don't know if there's sport fans on here, but I use this. I use this a lot when I'm speaking with newer agents. So it's like the amount of effort, not all, but some people put into knowing Tom Brady's stats, which, Tom Brady doesn't care how many houses you sell. So focus that energy on something that's going to benefit you. And by doing that, like knowing the absorption rate, knowing what properties sold, knowing how much they sold for, knowing what they look like, knowing all of that data is way more important than how many touchdowns Tom Brady threw in the Super Bowl. Because that's going to turn into money for you. Does that make sense? So I guess this is your homework. We started 5 minutes, or we started 10 minutes late, and we can end 5 minutes early unless we've got a bunch of questions or ahas. I feel like I just spouted off for 3 hours, even though I said I wasn't going to.
You did great, Nick.
Thank you very much. It was a great class.
Yeah.
Nick, I did have one question.
Yeah, man.
So I keep hearing you refer back to putting your buyers all on exclusive buyer agreements. Now I'm fairly new. I just got my license at the end of December, and I'm working with buyers, but I have yet to put them on an exclusive agreement. My mindset behind it is because when I was looking for a property, I remember coming across a realtor who implemented that, and that was the one reason why I didn't go with him, because it just made me feel like I was limited, I was lacking in options, and I didn't want to do that. But I keep hearing you refer back to it. So obviously your take is doing exclusive buyer agreements. Could you just elaborate on why and what are the negatives on not doing it?
Sure. My number one reason is I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't want to work with me. I put a lot of time, effort, and money into my clients, and only the clients that want to work with me. I also, and I'm not going to pull it back up because it'll just take too much time. In my buyer guide, as well as my listing guide, I offer what I call an unconditional guarantee. And I'm straight up with people. I'm just like, listen, I don't want to work with you if you don't want to work with me. At the time, and now it's different, but at the time, you know, what I used to say to them was like, you're going to sit in a car 3 feet away from me. If you're mad at me, I don't want to sit next to you. You know, so I have no desire to work with somebody who doesn't work with me. So just write me an email, say, hey, Nick, this isn't working out, and then it's out. Now, in my market, unless I have an exclusive buyer agreement or a buyer contract, you're a client. So I can't give you, you're a customer, and I can't give you client level services. So I can't walk into a house, and when I'm walking into a house and the buyer goes, hey, geez, Nick, why is that roof all black? I'm not sure. We probably have to get you, you probably should do an inspection, right? I mean, I can't tell them, well, geez, that roof looks like it's at the end of its life and it's about to cave in, right? That's client level services, you know, or when I walk in and there's a boiler that's 100 years old and covered in asbestos, and they're like, well, do you think this is asbestos, Nick? I'm not sure. I can't comment on that. Let's look at the disclosures, right? So you got to give people a client level service. And that's why I require it. And I also more along the lines of, if I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't want to exclusive with me because of the time and effort I'm going to put in. We have 50, you know, right now I've got 10 signed buyers, right? And I'm going to spend time on those before I spend any time on somebody else. So look at yourself as a professional and want to get paid, right? I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't, you know, let me rephrase that, because that sounded bad. That sounded like I was just after the money, because I'm not. You know, it's more like, I only want to work with people who want to work with me.
You could try them out once first, though, in terms of if you're not sure that you're going to actually want to work with them, then you could potentially show them one property or write an agreement on that property alone. Correct. And test out that relationship. And then you could even say to them, I'm glad I met you. You seem like a reasonable person, or I like you. I would like to actually represent you. But just kind of let them know that you were testing the relationship out too. It's not one way.
Yeah. And I do say that too, you know, that Heidi brought up a great point. It's just, you know, we're going to decide whether you want to work with me and I want to work with you, you know? But I just don't, I wouldn't spend any time. I wouldn't spend time with people that don't want to sign an agreement. Because you're going to put so much effort in, you're going to look, you're going to set up searches, you're going to do all this, and then you're going to call them and they're like, oh, I walked through an open house and I bought that house. Right.
So I notice how you put emphasis on transparency and how you said you're transparent with them up front. You tell them, I don't want to work with you if you don't want to work with me. Also, if we get to a point after we've executed this exclusive buyer agreement that you don't want to work with me or vice versa, we just cancel it, you part ways. So that's something that you always lead with.
Yeah, it's right. It's page 2 or 3 of my buyer guide. And I say, and I'm very, you know, right in the beginning, I'm like, I'm going to ask you to sign a contract. And then I take all of that pressure away by saying, but I offer you an unconditional guarantee. And at any time that you're not happy with the services that I'm providing, I'm more than happy to rip up this contract if I can't fix what the issue is. Now, you know, you've got to know your contracts. Like I have in our contracts, we have what's called a carryover clause. So, you know, and I tell them, you know, listen, this is the carryover clause, or this is, you know, in our contract. And if I show you a property and you end up buying it within the next 6 months, I'll be due a fee unless you've signed an agreement with another agent.
Okay.
I've never had to use that carryover clause. I tell them, you know, I don't try to be cocky, but I just say, listen, I don't think you're going to find a better service than what my team can provide you.
So it sounds like that carryover clause is kind of like the reciprocal of like a payment protection clause on a listing agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood.
And with your buyer agreement, do you write in your whole guarantee clause, or is that just kind of you tell them and it's kind of like on honor, or do you actually have that clause kind of written in? If you guys don't agree, you can break it.
It's written in my buyer guide that I give everybody. Let's see if I can.
It's not in the actual buyer agreement they sign.
No, it's in my buyer guide that I've signed.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could put it in there if you wanted to, but it's in my buyer guide. So I've handed it to them. And
I write that very similar thing that Nick just described. I write it in a 1-sentence thing in the additional terms of my buyer agreements. And to Adriel, it takes all that feeling of, oh, I'm trapped with you. I tell people, look, I don't want you to feel trapped. If I am not serving you, if this relationship isn't working, I add it right there, page 2, paragraph 25, whatever it is. Buyer or agent may terminate this agreement at any time without penalty. I'm not going to charge you. There's no early termination fee, nothing. All I ask for it is in writing. And I tell them, look, the buyer can cancel this agreement, but so can the agent, right? I want to be able to help people who want to be helped, who are serious buyers like yourself, right? And if I feel like this relationship is working, I can terminate this agreement as well, right? And so I put it right there in the agreement, and it takes that stress immediately away. People are like, okay, great, where do I sign?
And to piggyback on that, the only thing that I add an additional, and Michael, I love that you put it in writing in the agreement. That was my biggest aha or my biggest nugget I learned in these 3 hours. But in addition, when I tell people this, I say, as long as you just please let me know some constructive criticism, because I'm always looking to improve my level of service. So they have just that one little ownership piece to at least, let me know why. And then we're good.
I see. Okay. That makes a lot of sense now, because my thought process behind it has always been that, oh, they're going to assume that I'm just trying to limit their options or jam them up into this contract. But it seems like that you guys lead with the transparency that, hey, I have the power to do that, but that's not at all what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to be transparent. I'm looking to let you know that this is our agreement. And if you decide to bridge away from this agreement, we part ways, no hard feelings.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And you can't give them this legally. You can't give them, well, in Maine, qualifying statement. I don't know your states, but in Maine, you can't give them service. You cannot give them the level of service that you want to without it.
Right. Confidentiality being the number one.
Yeah. You cannot, exactly. Anything they tell you, you can use against them unless they're a client.
Same here in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. So there's where it's written, page 2 for me. Any reason, Dan Bergaren not provide 100% satisfactory service, just let us know, and we promise to remedy the situation if possible. If not, we're satisfied. We'll release you from your agreement.
This conversation was incredibly helpful, because I was kind of in the same situation as Adriel, in that I didn't know how to frame these, conversations moving forward to get into a buyer agreement contract. But then I kind of played around with the idea of a transaction broker, like try to get into a transaction broker state of mind, which kind of dances around the things that you're being really direct about in the buyer agreement. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, being like transaction broker mentality on the way, segueing to buyer agreement.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to be a transaction broker, because there's so much I want to say, and it's so hard to keep my mouth zipped shut, because, I would much rather be an agent, even if it's for one property or one day, so that I'm not going to get myself into doing something that I'm not supposed to do. And then the carryover clause still exists. So if you ended up being their agent for a day or for a property, and then they end up deciding to buy it, well, you already now have that 6-month carryover clause. Right. So really, you're their agent.
Right. I don't like transaction broker either, to answer that. It just, for me, it's, I want to be your agent or I don't, because I'm just, now it's so ingrained in my person that when I walk into a property, I'm like, geez, we need to get that roof checked out. Do you know that there's a food processing plant down the road? you know, blah, 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 you know, oh, hey, do you know that we're in Scarborough, so you're going to smell the marsh and all this other stuff. We're right in the flight path. I mean, whatever, you know, like it's like diarrhea in the mouth. I can't stop. So I'm not going to not do it. So.
And if you're working with an investment buyer, they're not going to want to sign an exclusive agreement with you. So it's almost always like property specific for an investment buyer. And you can start slow on anything. You could say, look, we're going to just do this for just this property or just this town. If you decide on something else later, no worries. We just add it to the buyer agreement. So that way it feels like not like doesn't feel like pressure. And then over time, as you get more experienced, your expertise will just come forth and they'll just sense it and they'll be okay with it anyways.
So helpful. Thank you all so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. 100% helpful. I really appreciate it.
Your questions are great, everybody.
Yeah, that was a good point to raise. That was awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off. I've got a 12:30 buyer appointment.
I'm sorry, can I have a question quick? I'm sorry. How can I download the PDF that's come with this class? I'm sorry.
It should be in the chat bar. If you click the link in the chat bar, it will drop. You'll be able to.
I'll repost it. Nick, get your appointment. I'll stay on here and repost this.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. And Megan, thank you for your calendar idea at the beginning. That was really great.
You're welcome. I hope it helps somebody else too.
I have seen somebody do it in my market center, and my aha from seeing them do it is that they ended up creating business to business relationships.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just that you're going to take the calendar and help other people. It's the people you're talking to get on the calendar to begin with that you have relationships with.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was, we have like they're called East Coast Artisans. They're in our town, and they make like signs and business cards and like materials and stuff. So they were actually asking me who was going to be printing out the calendars. And I was like, I'm not sure. But then I realized, oh, wait, I can make a connection with you to print my business supplies, and you're in my town. So like, that's like another connection I just made yesterday too. So
right. It
pretty
actually
excited
makes
about that.
me realize too that when you're doing that calendar idea or any ideas, that think of it how to build in as multiple touches. So if you were just to say, oh, I have a calendar here, take it. Now it's just one time that you're talking to them, but it might be just like you're getting people to buy raffles. That could be one time. Then it's like you're reporting into people. This is who was the winner for the raffle for this week or this month. And then it could be reporting in another time. We're going to be redoing it again. Are you interested in the next time? So you're staying in touch multiple times with people. So that in a sense is kind of like a smart plan, because even though you're not like, you're just thinking of everything, how to plan out steps of something.
Yeah. This whole like process has definitely helped me learn, because like, I am still working on breaking out of that like shell that I have, where it's like hard for me to just like call up somebody and say, hey, who do you know that's buying or selling or anything? So that's been like hard for me to start building my database. But I realized that working with the PTA now and reaching out to all these businesses, it's like a step in the right direction. It's breaking me in by like email first, and then we can make those calls.
Mm-hmm. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that on a Facebook giveaway. They were doing a big giveaway. I think it was during pandemic. It was an outdoor projector screen. But what they said was, we need your mailing address because we're going to hand deliver it, right? So immediately they were like, oh, awesome. That's awesome. Let me get, people just gave up their mailing addresses, because of course you're going to deliver this basket of food and this movie, because you were raffling off a movie night in someone's backyard. And they got thousands of responses locally, and they got thousands of mailing addresses.
That's another good idea. I really like that.
Hi.
Can you say hi?
Trevor, you have a question. Do you want to ask it out loud? Because I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
Okay, so I've bought 2 homes and I've sold one. Through the process, I never knew that the realtors themselves pay for everything that they do, the marketing, their sign, everything they do. So is that a good thing to bring up to let them know that, you know, one, that's why the commissions are so high. And two, letting them know that the reason you want them to sign is not to waste your time, because you do spend a lot of money advertising and all the extra things that you do to get their property sold or help them buy, etc. Is that a good thing to mention? I never knew that until I actually became a realtor and started studying.
So a couple, actually, Michael, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it is, and it kind of going to add Adriel in this conversation. It's a mindset. If you have the mindset of your real estate as a business, you will present yourself as a professional. Okay. You need to get buyer agreements because you are a professional being hired to do a professional job who has business expenses. I would never tell a client, oh, well, this cost me this, that, and the other thing, because those are my business decisions. So no, I don't necessarily share that. On the listing side, it's different, okay? But on the buyer side, no, you know, these are my business expenses. This is what I am worth, and this is why. This is why I am a professional in this industry. And and like Nick said, and Heidi will say the same thing. We all of us good ones will say it. We're the best. And so why wouldn't you want to work with the best? And you're going to get high level professionalism. Change the mindset about what we do as a profession. And I think it's better for all of us as an industry. When we take our profession to a higher level, like a doctor, like an attorney, and hold ourselves to that level of expertise and professionalism, and no one will ever question your commission.
We're actually not allowed to talk about commissions because we're in different states. So we're going to have to just end that conversation. We're going to shut that conversation down. Yeah.
But the mindset, that's across the board. I think if we act like professionals, we'll get paid like professionals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.